You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 2419, Chapter 2419, Chapter 523, The Beginning of Weapon Forging 2. Chapter 2419, Chapter 523, The Beginning of Weapon Forging 2. Space-bearing capacity. Zhao Tianbing also sucked in a breath of cold air. Damn, you brat, you want to kill me. Such a large space, if compressed, the power will be enormous. You want me to forge pages that can bear space. The difficulty is not ordinary, not to mention that it requires more than 300 pieces. Zhao Li said unhappily, if you can do it, then do it. If you can't do it, then leave. Find someone else to do it. Zhao Tianbing was helpless. Alright, do it. But PV made it clear. Time is too tight. Suyu wants to finish it within a month. It's more than 10 pieces a day. I need someone to help me extract the material. Otherwise, I won't be able to do it alone. This page of paper is probably comparable to a black weapon. Just as he said that, Zhao Li frowned and said, that's not enough. It's better to be comparable to an earth weapon. Zhao Tianbing frowned and said, first, if it's really comparable to an earth weapon, I definitely won't be able to forge 10 in a day. Second, does Suyu have that many materials to forge? Third, the forging is successful. It's equivalent to the fusion of more than 300 earth weapons. It's even stronger than a heaven weapon. Suyu might not be able to control it. Zhao Li nodded, he thought for a moment and said, it's fine. You can forge the prototype of an earth weapon. 73 golden lines will be an earth weapon. You can forge 72.5 earth weapons. In addition, you can draw some embryonic golden lines. In this way, Suyu can upgrade the pages of the book to an earth weapon at any time in the future. Suyu swallowed his saliva. He could not help but look at old Zhao. This teacher of his, felt so crazy. It's true. Suyu only wanted to forge a slightly more powerful earth soldier and then create the embryonic form of a heaven soldier. That's why he asked Hu Xianqing to cut off the space of 10 mu of land. But, what was Zhao Li trying to do? Zhao Li looked at Suyu, he said in a deep voice, your strength has improved too quickly. An ordinary earth soldier wouldn't be able to satisfy you. Moreover, this time, you're preparing to forge a weapon that will allow you to attain Tao. You mustn't be careless. Oh right, you don't have enough materials. You need more materials. I still have some. Zhao Tianbing hurriedly said, I have quite a lot too. Suyu frowned when he heard that. He shook his head and said, that won't do. The 2 teachers will come to my place to help me with the work. I still need the 2 teachers to provide the materials. That's underestimating me, Suyu. Don't worry, teacher. I will think of a way to get the materials myself. It's a small matter. Isn't the heaven hunting pavilion still here? It's not like I don't have money. I can sell the heaven yuan qi. I have a lot of these things. If it's not enough, I still have quite a number of carriers. Suyu didn't expect the Protoss to really send him a carrier. The current Suyu had as many as 8 carriers. It was just that Suyu had prepared some small matters. In fact, he had prepared quite a lot of things. It was enough to forge 2 or 3 heaven weapons. In the end, old Zhao seemed to want to play a big game. At this moment, Hu Qi and the other 2 Earth Division soldiers from Daming Prefecture were a little speechless. Hu Qi interjected, 300 pages that are comparable to Earth Division soldiers. Suyu, you want to forge a book-type weapon and merge it into the space. 1 page, 1 world. Suyu nodded. Teacher Hu, that's what I plan to do. Moreover, 300 pages, it might just be a preliminary budget. Of course, it might not be able to forge up to 300 pages. Hu Qi also took a deep breath and said, you're spending too much. Then our mission. Suyu thought for a moment and said, first, extract the materials. Second, help Uncle Master Zhao integrate into the space. Uncle Master needs to forge the pages, but the space needs to be inlaid. This is not something that an ordinary person can accomplish. Only our Earth Division can do it. The 3 Earth Division soldiers nodded at the same time. This was quite difficult. Hu Qi said solemnly, merging with the space is risky. It is very easy to cause an explosion. Once a page of the atlas is destroyed, the loss would be too great. That was equivalent to losing an Earth soldier. Suyu smiled and said, if it explodes, then it explodes. As long as the teachers don't get hurt, it's fine. But if it explodes, it's a small matter. As he said that, Suyu said, the 3 teachers will be in charge of these 2 things for the time being. Uncle Master Zhao and Principal who will just do as I said. As for you, teacher, you will be in charge. As Suyu spoke, he continued, as for me, I will join hands with teacher to fuse them together and start forging from scratch. In addition, I will be in charge of purchasing the materials, taking charge of everyone's recovery work, and giving a hand at the last minute. He was also an Earth Armament Division, but he had to wait for all the previous tasks to be completed before he could start forging. This was an extremely difficult task. Zhao Tianbing questioned seriously, can you do it? Suyu, PM not belittling you, it's too difficult. Hundreds of Earth soldiers fusing together, are you sure you can persevere until the forging is completed? Suyu took a deep breath and nodded, I try my best. If I really can't, I can fuse a little less. Actually, it's not a big deal. I'll make up for it later. Zhao Tianbing nodded, you fellow, you're too ambitious. Even if this weapon wasn't a heaven-grade weapon, it would still be at the peak of the Earth-grade weapon. Furthermore, there would definitely be some rewards or lightning tribulations. You can judge for yourself. If it goes with the flow, it would be a reward. If it goes against the flow, it would be a disaster. Suyu nodded. As for whether it would be a reward or a punishment, he wasn't too sure. Suyu took out all the materials, and the Earth-grade weapon division members gasped for breath. There were so many good items. Suyu had killed many people, and not only did he exchange for those items, there were also a lot of scattered treasures. Very quickly, Suyu took out some more treasures. These are 5 elements spirit fruits. Teachers, if you don't have enough yuan qi or willpower, use this to recover. The group of people had this thought at the same time. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 2420, Chapter 2420, Chapter 523 The Beginning of Weapon Forging 3. Chapter 2420, Chapter 523 The Beginning of Weapon Forging 3. F***CKU. What are you going to use to restore us? 5 elements spirit fruit. Are you F***king addicted to squandering? A 5-element spirit fruit was worth 10 wisps of heaven and earth mystic light. This was no joke. It was equivalent to the entire blood essence of a first-level sun and moon expert. Selling a first-level sun and moon expert would probably only be slightly higher than this price. Zhao Li frowned and said, nonsense. Suyu shook his head, it's not nonsense. Teacher Hu and the others are old and their injuries have accumulated. If they were to do such high-intensity forging for a month, they might leave even before the forging is completed. How am I going to explain this to everyone? The cultivation of the 5-element spirit fruit can not only restore one's vitality and willpower, but it can also nourish one's injuries. As Suyu said this, he took out some fruits again. These are divine vitality fruits. They can directly store up to 100 pieces of vitality. This is what I scammed last time. Suyu chuckled and said, normally, if we cannot use it, then so be it. I will prepare enough heaven yuan qi for everyone. There is no need to use ordinary yuan qi liquid to restore it. That is not good, and there are New York impurities. Everyone swallowed their saliva. It was not that the Earth Armament Division had never seen the world, but, they had never seen such a thing. Heaven yuan qi was treated as a daily consumption, divine yuan qi fruit as an emergency consumption, and 5-element spirit fruit as a replenishment at a critical moment. To be honest, these things were worth far more than the price of a heaven armament. Su Yu was crazy. Su Yu was not crazy. He was not too short of money. Although these things could help people achieve 9 transformations of yuan qi, they might not be useful to Su Yu. He needed more powerful treasures. He needed treasures that could be forged into Tao for himself. Why would he care about these things? A few Earth Division soldiers had been summoned with a single sentence. How could Su Yu treat them poorly? Don't leave without your weapons. How was he going to explain himself to others? How was he going to explain himself to the Daming Manor and their families? Su Yu would not do such a thing. Su Yu continued, the few teachers probably know the art of longevity. I think we should take this opportunity to heal some of the injuries on our bodies first. Then, we can use the 5-element spirit fruits to nourish them. We can even heal the injuries on our sea of consciousness. As he said that, Su Yu took out 4 more fruits. They were also the most valuable demonic god fruits. Demonic god fruits were originally sold for 60 wisps of heaven yuan qi each. They were shockingly expensive. Of course, there were benefits to being expensive. Su Yu looked at the few of them and said, these are demonic god fruits. Demonic god fruits are extremely precious. I only have 4 of these. Their greatest use is that when the sun and moon are heavily injured, one of them can heal almost all of our injuries. It's like a demonic god possessing a body and regrowing a severed limb. There were originally 5 of them, but Harry Ball wasted 1 of them. Su Yu looked at the few of them and said, if you guys encounter any backlash, you can eat this to recover. The group of people were stupefied. They had a feeling that this time, the soldiers were not here to forge weapons, but to participate in the grand meeting. There were too many good things. Su Yu was 2F** King Prodigal. Su Yu was a true prodigal, but not everyone could make him squander like this. He came from thousands of miles away, and with just a word, he came from a world away to help. It was an incomparably difficult task, and the Earth Army Division was not idle. Since he was here, it meant that they were friends. Su Yu had never been stingy when it came to people who helped him. Not only that, Su Yu also had some sun-moon mystic yellow liquid in his hand, and he took it out at this moment. He chuckled and said, this thing can also be used. It can be used as a holy recovery item. I'll go to the Heaven Hunting Pavilion to buy some more. There are too many things, and I've forgotten some of them myself, so I haven't had the time to use them. It's a waste not to use these things. Everyone can use them. Zhao Tianbing, a peak earth weapon master, also had a look of regret on his face at this moment. He said sourly, Su Yu, I've forged weapons for my entire life, but I can't take out so many treasures. You fellow. Su Yu smiled foolishly and said, I swindled them. The myriad clans are too stupid. I've actually only gone on a few expeditions myself, and they were all swindled. He was speechless. Hu Qi also gave a wry smile and said, I originally thought that I would come this time to help you out a little. In the end, it turned out to be a good thing. You brat, you seem to have given us some benefits, making us feel embarrassed. Su Yu smiled and said, there's no such thing. When I was in Daming Manor, I still had to thank all the teachers for taking care of me. When I was in Daming Manor, I was very happy. Everyone had given me a lot of help. These are all external objects. I don't need them myself, so there's no point in keeping them. Zhao Li also exhaled, very quickly, he said, everyone, use them. Now that your injuries have recovered, it will be beneficial for your forging. Senior Hu Qi, since your injuries have recovered, it will be more beneficial for your forging. This way, Zhao Tianbing will be a peak earth armament master, and the three of you will have the ability to cast mid-tier weapons. I can also cast mid-tier earth weapons. This way, the chances of success will be even greater. Hu Xianqing also smiled and said, to be honest, with this lineup, even if another caste king were to appear, it would be much stronger than the 100 Paths Pavilion's lineup back then. Right, such powerful weapons, formations, and the like, have they all been resolved? Resolved. Su Yu smiled and said, the Darming King will help me forge formations, and right, Principal Niu will help me forge divine talismans and store them. Extravagant. Two invincible experts on the battlefield, along with many weapon forging masters, and countless materials for heavenly weapons, it was truly extravagant. With just one sentence, only those with money could afford to be willful. Hu Xianqing was speechless. After a long while, he said, I think your weapon is going for a divine weapon. Even the myriad clans wouldn't be willing to be so extravagant. Of course, advancing to a heavenly weapon isn't a problem, but for a divine weapon, it's too difficult. Too difficult. I think there is still hope to reach the peak of the heavenly soldier realm, but the divine weapon can only be met by chance. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 24-21, Chapter 24-21, Chapter 5-23 The beginning of weapon forging. Subscribe, 4. Chapter 24-21, Chapter 5-23 The beginning of weapon forging. Subscribe, 4. 549690339. Su Yu and the others nodded. This was the truth. If it was really that simple, the heaven hunting list would not be the only divine weapon that everyone knew of. The power of a divine weapon was too powerful, beyond imagination. A heaven hunting list could cover the heavens, capture the aura of the myriad worlds, and locate it at any time. Just these functions alone were so powerful that it was unimaginable. Zhao Tianbing took a deep breath and said, all right, since the assignment has been completed, let's get to work. This is also the first time the few of us have worked together. If we can really complete it this time, everyone will gain a lot. As for me, I might be able to use this opportunity to truly become a divine weapon master. I still have to thank Su Yu for giving me this opportunity. I'm counting on myself and the human race. In this lifetime, I probably don't have the hope to use so many treasures to extravagantly forge one. Su Yu, we only have one request. When you and my junior brother forge weapons, we want to observe. Su Yu was silent for a moment. After a while, he nodded. All right. Zhao Li frowned. He quickly said, it's fine to observe, but you can't pry into the core. Everyone who Su Yu dares to invite here treats him as one of us. A junior in front of you, but let me say something ugly first. This isn't a weapon used for simple battles, but this kid's Dao achieving weapon. He said that he found his own Dao, so I made him reject Tianzhu King's help. Ordinary weapons, even if they are heavenly weapons, it's fine if the core is exposed, but Dao achieving weapons, don't observe. The few of them nodded in agreement. Zhao Tianbing smiled and said, Junior brother, we still know the rules. You're just a little brat, yet you want to talk about the rules with us old people. Hu Qj said calmly, Tianbing, you and your junior brother don't have to play the double act. The two of you are just kids. The three of us know more than you. Zhao Tianbing was embarrassed. That's right, he wasn't as old as the three of them. The three of them were people from the founding era. Su Yu stifled his laughter. He glanced at Zhao Li and felt somewhat grateful. There were some things that he couldn't say, but Zhao Li helped him say them. This wasn't a question of trust. The core of a Dao weapon was very important. Once it was exposed, it could be easily destroyed by others. Then Su Yu would suffer too great of a loss, including the divine text that was integrated into it. Zhao Li didn't say anything. He was Su Yu's teacher in the path of weapon forging, and he was his guide. These words weren't easy for Su Yu to say, so he had to say them out loud. The reason why he didn't ask for the help of the Tianzhu king was also because the Tianzhu king was too strong. It was very easy for him to see through some things during the forging process. Once the Tianzhu king wanted to harm Su Yu, then Su Yu's weapon would be useless. At this moment, all the preparations were completed. The few elders had the temperament to do as they were told. The weapon forging division didn't procrastinate and started forging rapidly. As for Su Yu, he still lacked some materials, so he had to go to the heaven hunting pavilion to purchase them. Dang dang dang. The sound of a tremor began to spread throughout the ancient city. At this moment, everyone in the heavens and 10,000 worlds knew that Su Yu had brought people to forge weapons. He had called for the help of many earth weapon masters. There was a high chance that he wanted to forge heaven weapons. At this moment, some of the earth weapon masters in the universe wanted to come and take a look. Heaven weapons were extremely rare. Apart from a few peak sun and moon experts, most of the heaven weapons were invincible. At this moment, it was the opening day of the Starry Sky Mansion. It was already bustling here, but in an instant, there were even more people. Under normal circumstances, the earth weapon masters would be protected by the sun and moon. If an earth division were to appear, there would be at least 3 to 5 sun and moon. Meanwhile, in the heaven hunting pavilion headquarters. When Su Yu's list was passed over, the few golden-masked men in the main hall of the headquarters gasped. The earth division head asked curiously, "What grade of heaven soldier does this fellow want to forge?" Last time, he exchanged for quite a number of treasures. Isn't that enough? He exchanged for so many things again. The Sky Division leader's figure was faintly discernible. He picked it up and looked at it for a while. He said indifferently, "They are all items used to forge earth weapons. They are probably assembled weapons. The types required are small, but the quantity is large. There should be a lot of accessories. With a lot of accessories, it is difficult to assemble them. Under normal circumstances, in the weapon forging world, people do not approve of using assembled weapons. The difficulty of assembling them is too high. Su Yu invited so many weapon forging divisions to forge accessories, so there's a high chance that he wants to combine them in the end. This fellow has quite a bit of courage. He only uses weapon forging divisions like Zhao Tianbing as auxiliary casting. As for combining them in the end, I don't think it will succeed. The head of the Sky Division only took a simple look and was able to roughly determine Su Yu's goal. It was obvious that he was quite proficient in the art of forging. After looking for a while, he said, "Give it to him. I also want to see if he can forge a heavenly weapon this time." The minister of the Earth Division said, "The quantity he wants is very large and it's worth a lot. He means to pay with Heaven Yuan QJ. If he uses Heaven Yuan Qi, it's worth more than 5,000 portions. Does he have that much Heaven Yuan? Give it to him and you'll know." The Sky Division leader didn't care too much and said lightly, "He was the first to discover the ruins last time. He probably saved a lot. That place has rich Heaven Yuan Q." "That's true." The few of them nodded. This young man was really generous. Everyone was also somewhat interested in Su Yu's weapon forging. Last time, when Su Yu and Zhao Li forged the embryonic form of the heaven weapon, it caused a commotion. Su Yu was known as the youngest Earth Division in the world. This time, it seemed like he was going to forge a real heaven weapon. Of course, if it was a heavenly weapon, Su Yu might not be able to use it with his full strength. However, Su Yian's progress was fast, so it was not too wasteful to use a heavenly weapon. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 24-22, Chapter 24-22, Chapter 5-23 The Beginning of Weapon Forging 5. Chapter 24-22, Chapter 5-23 The beginning of weapon forging 5. The outside world was bustling with noise. In the city lord's manor, Suyu was doing the logistics for the weapon forging divisions. He and Zhao Li were more of a firefighter at the moment, and they would go help wherever they needed it. Suyu was also continuously familiarizing himself with the forging process. He hadn't forged for a few days, and he was a little rusty. Furthermore, he needed to familiarize himself with the structure of these parts to prevent any problems from occurring during the final casting. Only he and Zhao Li should be doing the final casting. This was because both he and Zhao Li knew the divine amplification technique and had great endurance, allowing them to continue forging. The Hen character was something Suyu had comprehended the last time he forged it. At this moment, he was following behind Zhao Tianbing and doing odd jobs while observing Zhao Tianbing's forging method. Although he came from the Zhao family, his forging method also had its own characteristics. Suyu had activated the fire character. The power of the Flame of Heritage was shocking. With a grade 4 Flame of Heritage ignited, everyone in the city lord's manor felt as though they were swimming in a sea of knowledge. Not only that, Suyu also felt that it wasn't enough. He had even split up the civilization. The text character also had a special effect that could strengthen the power of the character. By fusing it into the fire character, Suyu was able to comprehend even more. The few weapon forging divisions' forging process was also much smoother. Some small problems that he hadn't noticed before were instantly felt by him now. Zhao Tianbing said emotionally as he forged, "This divine text is good. If I had this divine text, I would have probably advanced to a heavenly weapon division long ago. You brat, shine more light on me." As he spoke, he easily forged a page. 72.5 golden patterns. Half earth grade. Suyu took it and looked at it for a while. Suddenly, he frowned and said, "That's not right. Martial uncle, how about this, fuse a drop of sun and moon blood essence into it and then forge again." Zhao Tianbing looked at Suyu and frowned slightly. "You want to forge a book, it's a weapon of knowledge. If you want to add blood essence, it's a weapon of murder. Suyu, you have to consider it carefully." Suyu nodded, "Stop the war with the war, and only then will it become a holy path. The current myriad realms are not peaceful myriad realms. I want to be a scholar, but I prefer to be a scholar who can use violence to counter violence." Zhao Tianbing took a deep breath. "All right, how about this? Each booklet will be infused with a drop of sun and moon blood essence. Later on, we will make adjustments and try our best to do so. We can summon the sun and moon for a battle. This can also be considered an unusual summoning of literary soldiers." Suyu nodded. "One booklet, one species. I'll infuse 300 drops of sun and moon blood essence into each booklet, 300 species. You have that much sun and moon blood essence?" Suyu nodded, smiling. He said, "Yes, I still have a few hundred drops of sun and moon first level blood essence, but I don't need them anymore. There are also a few hundred drops of sun and moon heavy blood essence. However, they are too powerful, and I can't bear to infuse them with heavy blood essence. I'll only infuse one level blood essence into each booklet. If that's the case, summoning 300 sun and moon first level sun and moon battle beasts would be an extremely powerful force." The weapon forging masters were stunned once more. Damn it! The essence blood of the sun and moon, are they all calculated according to 100? As for Suyu, he didn't have enough. He had enough essence blood, but his race wasn't enough. He only wanted to fuse one type of essence into one page, so there wouldn't be any overlap. This was also to prepare for what was to come. He had to find the heaven hunting pavilion to exchange for it. In the next few days, Hu Xianqing went to various places to cut through space. Suyu asked Yun Shao to keep an eye on him to prevent him from being targeted by the invincible races. Meanwhile, the progress in the ancient city was also very smooth. The few weapon forging masters continued to devour the heaven's origin energy and various treasures, and the more they forged, the more spirited they became. Some of the injuries that had accumulated in their bodies were also recovering, and Elder Wang and the others had also benefited greatly from it. A large amount of treasures in heaven's origin energy had turned the entire city Lord Manor into a holy land, and it was no longer filled with a lifeless aura. Clanging sounds continued to ring out. In the back hall, Xing Yu's voice sounded, "Xing Hong, tell me, what kind of weapon does he want to forge? He has already forged over 100 half-Earth soldiers." "I don't know." Xing Hong also did not know what kind of weapon Su Yu wanted to forge. Also, this kid was thinking of forging a weapon. This was already surprising. Su Yu's strength lay in his physical body. Forging a weapon, it might not be able to increase his strength much. Using up all the resources on his body just for a weapon, was it worth it? At this moment, Su Yu could not care about them. Forging continuously. He was also practicing. The book pages, Su Yu was also forging a half-Earth soldier. Su Yu was currently forging with relative ease. However, the next step was to combine the forging and forge a few hundred pages. This was not a small matter. Zhao Li was also practicing, understanding, analyzing, and constantly making adjustments. Soon, Zhao Li found Su Yu and said, "I'm still lacking something. Please speak." "I'm lacking the book bones. Without the integration of the book bones, the pages are too strong. It's easy to spread." Su Yu smiled and said, "I thought that teacher didn't specifically mention it. He knows that I'm ready. I've prepared the things. There might be more pages in the future after binding a few hundred pages. Ordinary things definitely work." As he said that, Su Yu took out a withered tree and smiled, "This." Zhao Li sucked in a breath of cold air. "A vessel." The weapon forging division members looked at Su Yu in shock. He must have gone crazy. Su Yu smiled and said, "That's right, this is it. This withered tree, I did some research on it. It should be a creature from the ancient era, a plant that had turned into a spirit. It might have encountered a lightning tribulation and was struck to death, leaving behind a skeleton. Using this as a book skeleton, I can definitely glue all the pages together to ensure that they don't fall apart." You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 24-23, Chapter 24-23, Chapter 5-23 The beginning of weapon forging. Subscribe, 6. Chapter 24-23, Chapter 5-23 The beginning of weapon forging. Subscribe, 6. "You mother ****. Zhao Li ridiculed him and scolded him. He quickly said, "This thing cannot be extracted. It cannot be removed from the outer layer." "It can." Su Yu smiled and said, "Lord Xing Hong can help. If he can't, I will look for Half-Emperor to help." There was really nothing more to say. Zhao Li's heart was tired. This was what it meant to make a good impression. Can't solve it? What a joke. If I can't be invincible, I'll look for the Half-Emperor to solve it. The moment these words were said, the few weapon forging division members fell silent. "You continue, we'll just work hard." Su Yu chuckled. "I've already prepared for this." Not only that, Su Yu also said, "In the end, I feel that those spaces might not be stable enough. I might even break apart a carrier and fuse it into it to stabilize the space." He had done this once before. In the ruins of Nan Yuan, Su Yu had fused a carrier into it. Not many people knew about it, only Lao Wan and Su Yu knew about it. Therefore, even until now, everyone still felt that the ruins were real. Because the space was too stable. No one would have thought that Su Yu, this madman, had fused a carrier into it previously. This was not something that a human could do. Even the Xia family had their doubts. Was this relic real or fake? Xia Longwu had personally visited it and felt that it might be Su Yu's relic. As for the great Xia King, he was very confused. He had stayed in the southern Yuan for many years and had really not discovered it. Therefore, this relic was now a mystery to the great Xia King and the others. While they were busy forging and spending money like water, pages and pages of paper were forged. Hu Qj and the other two continued to inlay them and even blew up a few times along the way. They wasted space fragments and pages, so they could only forge again. The weapon forging division was busy preparing for Su Yu. At this moment, even those who didn't know much knew that Su Yu's weapon forging was going to cause a huge commotion. And at this moment, in the city lord's manor, a book was slowly taking shape. Of course, it was still scattered, it wasn't complete. Su Yu had to cast it in the end. Looking at the spread out pages, Su Yu took a deep breath. Soon, with Zhao Tianbing and the others about to die from exhaustion, the initial preparations would be completed. As for him, he had been suppressing his physical body to advance recently. In fact, Su Yu felt that he could complete it. He stopped the final casting. Waiting for the time to cast the weapon before breaking through could help him extend the time of casting the weapon. He could even get some rewards to help him strengthen this book. Meanwhile, Zhao Li was also making preparations. Over the past few days, Zhao Li had been in closed-door cultivation. He was constantly devouring a large number of treasures to increase his willpower. If he continued to compress the treasures, he was afraid that his willpower would be insufficient at the critical moment. Just like last time, he would make a mistake. This was also the second time that Zhao Li and Su Yu had worked together to forge weapons. Last time, Su Yu had soared into the sky while he, Ling Yun, had unexpectedly forged an embryonic form of a heavenly weapon. Now, Su Yu's progress was very fast, and so was Zhao Li. Both of them were much stronger than before. Even so, they were still apprehensive. This time, the price they had paid was too great. If they failed, Zhao Li would probably want to die. Such a loss would probably not be enough even if they sold a large mansion. A month later, the starry mansion began to open to the public. Those with tokens could enter. However, Su Yu didn't go, and many people didn't go. A large number of people gathered outside the ancient city. For a month, the sounds of forging continued. The starry mansion hadn't opened yet, so there was no hurry. It was good to watch the show. All the races in the universe were curious about what Su Yu was going to forge this time. It was quite a big commotion. It almost triggered an invincible battle, because someone was cutting space everywhere and was eventually discovered. Fortunately, Yun Xiao was there, otherwise, Hu Xiansheng would have been killed by the invincible. Who asked this guy to cut at the entrance of the small realm, at the entrance of the Mystic Armor world. The Mystic Armor King was so angry that he almost died. However, when he saw Yun Xiao, the Mystic Armor King ran away obediently. He couldn't afford to offend him. Recently, he was regretting that he was an enemy of Su Yu. It seemed that he was quite unlucky. If he had known that Red Armor would be resurrected today, he would have killed Red Armor. Because of this guy, he didn't even dare to come out of the realm for fear that he would be ambushed. Under such circumstances, many people waited in anticipation. The 352nd year of the Anping calendar had entered the third month. On Su Yu's side, everything was ready. They were just waiting for the final forging. This time, the few weapon forging masters had reaped great rewards. With a large amount of natural treasures and the art of longevity, their old injuries were all healed. As for Zhao Tianbing, he had a vague understanding of how to advance to a heavenly weapon master. Anyone would have some understanding when Su Yu was crazily burning the flame of inheritance for a month. Even Lu Hong, who had been kicked out of the main hall by Su Yu and was hiding outside, had gained a lot during this month. He wished that he could enter the main hall. Unfortunately, Su Yu didn't allow him to enter, which made Lu Hong extremely regretful. Otherwise, he felt that he could advance 2 or 3 levels. Now that he had only advanced 1 level and had just stepped into the 4th level of Lingyun, it was too regretful. Similarly, Elder Wang and a few great demons had reaped great rewards. They were also in the city lord's mansion and were outside. They did not enter the main hall, so they had also reaped great rewards. Each and every one of them had made some progress in their abilities. On this day, Su Yu and Zhao Li walked out of the main hall. The master and disciple looked at each other and nodded slightly. After the previous time, this time, they had to work together to forge weapons. Last time, it was to forge weapons for Zhao Li. This time, it was to forge weapons for Su Yu. Zhao Li took a deep breath and said in a clear voice, "Don't be anxious. If you succeed this time, I will forge the pages one by one. This time, I will be your assistant." "Thank you, teacher." Su Yu smiled. In the air, 302 pages of the booklet floated in the air. He looked at Lu Honglu who was drooling in the distance. At this moment, he finally knew what Su Yu had been doing for the past month. Comparing it again and looking at his storage ring, he instantly felt that he was a pauper. Previously, he thought that he was very rich. Now, comparing it with Su Yu, he felt that he was a pauper. As for Su Yu, he couldn't be bothered with him. Lu Hong was still lamenting when his fist landed. With a rumble, Lu Hong fainted. Su Yu threw him into the back hall and shouted, "Sir, help to guard." Casting weapons, it was better not to show it to this guy. There was no need. In the back hall, Xing Hong did not say anything. He casually shifted his foot and kicked Lu Hong behind him so that he would not block his sight. At this moment, Xing Hong was also watching. He also wanted to see what was the use of Su Yu doing all this for a month. In the passageway, a faint aura of death seeped out. Xing Yu let out a sigh of relief when Xing Hong did not care. She also wanted to take a peek. What kind of weapon was Su Yu going to forge? After a month of tinkling, she was already tired of listening to it. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 24-24, Chapter 24-24, Chapter 5-24 External Saints and Internal Demons L. Chapter 24-24, Chapter 5-24 External Saints and Internal Demons L. City Lord's Residence. Su Yu looked at Zhao Li and smiled, "Teacher, then VLL begin." Zhao Li nodded. Today, Su Yu was the main and he was the support. Forging his own weapon to achieve Dao was naturally best done by himself. At this moment, the few weapon forging divisions, including Hu Xiansheng, were all a little excited. In this 1 month, only they knew how much Su Yu had paid for this weapon. If he had just forged an earth soldier, Su Yu would have vomited blood. Almost all of Su Yu's possessions had been thrown in. A hammer appeared, the God-expanding hammer. Zhao Li said in a deep voice, "First forge the book seal, then the book bone. First lay the foundation, then seal." Understood. Su Yu took a deep breath. In the next moment, he began forging. The book seal and the book bone were the foundation. Even so, the book bone was forged using a carrier, so laying the foundation was a difficult task. Dang! The crisp sound of the hammer reverberated throughout the ancient city. With a single strike, the sound of the hammer reverberated. Stacking hammer. Back then, Su Yu and Zhao Li had forged weapons together. With a single strike from Zhao Li, the sound of the hammer reverberated for 180 times. The stronger a weapon was, the more one would hear. On that day, Su Yu had heard 108 hammers, and the strongest of the other Earth Division had heard 144 hammers, only Zhao Tianbing heard 180 hammers. At that time, Su Yu was still weak. At that time, Su Yu still hadn't mastered the art of shaking. Thus, when Su Yu forged his own weapon, his hammers couldn't stack up too many times. But today, after the first hammering, Zhao Lp's brows instantly relaxed. 72 hammers. One hammer seemed like one hammer, but it shook 72 times in an instant. Although Su Yu didn't forge weapons for a long time, as his strength improved and he comprehended the art of shaking, his improvement was still huge. Dang! The sound of this hammer strike was different from the forging sounds of the others this month. Outside the ancient city, there were weapon forging masters who were proficient in the art of weapon forging. When they heard this sound, they were delighted and said, "God-expanding hammer. Zhao Li or Su Yu have officially started forging." The God-expanding hammer was an exclusive inheritance. In the myriad realms of the heavens, only Zhao Li and Su Yu knew how to forge it. As weapon forging masters, the various experts had some understanding of Zhao Lp's God-expanding hammer. From the sound of it, there were people who could tell that this was Zhao Lp's God-expanding hammer inheritance. If it wasn't Zhao Li, then it was Su Yu. At this moment, the void trembled. Someone was coming. A human expert. Tianzhu King had a depressed expression. Beside him, Nan Wujiang and Yun Chen also rushed over. Behind them were a few invincible experts. In addition, there were also some young people, including some weapon forging masters. 72 hammers. Tianzhu King said and sighed, Su Yu has probably really entered the earth rank. Dang! Another crisp sound rang out. Tianzhu King listened for a while and raised his eyebrows. 73 sounds. Was Su Yu getting used to it? Was he slowly increasing the number of stacking hammers? In the distance, there were also powerful weapon forging divisions coming over. They were not humans, but earth-fire demons who specialized in weapon forging. At this moment, the earth-fire demon expert laughed and said, not bad at all. 73 stacking hammers. With Su Yu's strength, with 73 hammers in one go, not to mention other things, with just this one hammer, he would be finished with one strike from the 6th layer of the mountain and sea realm. He was talking about his willpower, not his body. Su Yu had already reached the sun-moon realm. 73 strikes in one strike, he is indeed not weak. Some of the experts nodded, especially the experts of the weapon forging Dao. One could view Su Yu as an enemy, but one could not deny his talent in the weapon forging Dao. Su Yu was too young, and he had reached this stage so quickly. To deny Su Yu, was to deny oneself and deny the entire weapon forging Dao. As Su Yu began to forge weapons, clouds surrounded the sky. Gradually, a square projection appeared. When someone saw this projection, he smiled and said, "The Earth Soldier has started." Only the Earth Soldier had the hope of projecting. Of course, whether it could be forged successfully was not certain, but from the projection, it seemed to have the foundation of the Earth Soldier. As for what that square was, no one could see it clearly. In truth, it was just a projection of a book. At this moment, the first golden inscription appeared on the book. Beside Niu Bendao, Cui Lang had arrived. Cui Lang was also a weapon forging master, but of course, he had just barely stepped into the profound rank. At this moment, looking at the projection, he couldn't help but look at Niu Bendao. Principal, is he going to forge a brick? Why did it look so much like a brick? Niu Bendao ignored him. This definitely wasn't a brick. And at this moment, at the side, Tianzhu King said, Su Yu actually wants to forge it himself. His strength isn't considered strong, so it's hard to say if he can last for a day. Forging an Earth Soldier, or such a high-level Earth Soldier, will take at least a day. He can do it. Niu Bendao continued, he knows the soul-expanding art, and his willpower is strong. He also recovers quickly, so there's definitely no problem. Tianzhu King didn't say anything else, because at this moment, Su Yu was still in the process of forging the weapon. Clang! The aftershocks shook the entire area. The penetrating knocking sound made some people feel a little uncomfortable, and some of the soaring realm cultivators felt a little suffocated. Along with Su Yu's knocking sound, every time they knocked, they felt as if their hearts had been heavily smashed. At this moment, Su Yu's weapon forging was still considered normal. A weapon forging expert looked at it for a while and said, "It's still considered normal. There aren't any problems." "That's right. From the looks of it, there won't be any disasters. If it succeeds, there's a high probability of some rewards." At this moment, the projection was golden. This was the normal process of weapon forging. Su Yu was quite normal and didn't make any fuss about it. Everyone put away their thoughts and silently paid attention. Meanwhile, in the city lord's manor, Zhao Li was very solemn. "Normal. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories." Chapter 24-25, Chapter 24-25, Chapter 5-24 External Saint and Internal Demon 2. Chapter 24-25, Chapter 5-24 External Saint and Internal Demon 2. No, this was not a normal weapon, this was a vicious weapon. Su Yu had not closed the page yet. The page was the beginning of the forging of the vicious weapon. 1 page, 1 drop of sun and moon essence blood, that was a complete blood weapon, vicious weapon. 300 drops of sun and moon essence blood, 300 races, 300 sun and moon running for their lives. The book seal was a normal weapon. Su Yu even had a bit of divine power mixed in to forge it, external saint and internal demon. The book seal was filled with the aura of benevolence. It felt like this was a holy weapon. In reality, it was nonsense. Zhao Li knew, Zhao Tianbing and the others knew. Hammer after hammer, Su Yu's clothes were shattered, revealing his strong muscles. His shoulder-length hair was broken by him, leaving only needle-like short hair. Sweat started to roll down his body. Drip drip. Sweat dripped onto the ground like steel beads, crashing heavily onto the ground. Dang! 74 clangs. Su Yu, who was holding the huge hammer in his hand, increased the number of hammers he used, and another golden pattern appeared. The few weapon forging masters surrounded him, silently watching him. Silently watching Su Yu, they hammered the book seal into the book bone. The book bone was forged from a carrier, and it was extremely sturdy. It was impossible for an ordinary person to embed the book into it. Flames rose. The book bone was continuously burned, allowing the book to be embedded. As it burned, Su Yu ignited the flame of heritage, using the flame of heritage to burn the book bone, making the book bone appear even more sacred. Whing! The book bone trembled, and another golden pattern appeared. Su Yu continued to wield his sledgehammer, sweating profusely. Hammer after hammer, the huge recoil caused Su Yu's muscles to tremble. His physical body was extremely strong. Otherwise, it would be difficult for ordinary earth weapon masters to forge a supporting object. Zhao Li had been watching the entire time. After a while, he suddenly said, "Form a golden pattern and stack the hammer together." Su Yu did not say anything. However, he still followed Zhao Li's suggestion and started to stack the hammer together. Form a golden pattern and stack the hammer together. Dang-dang sounds reverberated in all directions. The weapon forging division members didn't feel any pressure at all. Instead, they were enjoying this feeling, experiencing the vibrations of the hammers. Following Su Yu's rhythm, they were adjusting their breathing and cultivation. On the other hand, Hu Xiansheng was feeling a little uncomfortable at this moment. He didn't understand the art of weapon forging. At this moment, every single strike of Su Yu's hammers was making him feel a little uncomfortable. Zhao Tianbing sent a telepathic message to Hu Xiansheng, "If Principal Hu isn't feeling too well, try to walk further away. This is the path of weapon forging, and it isn't suitable for outsiders." Hu Xiansheng was speechless. They spoke as if they were very powerful. The space rippled slightly, and Hu Xiansheng absorbed the shockwave. In an instant, he no longer felt uncomfortable. Seeing him like this, the weapon forging masters didn't say anything else. This was a space element, a rare space civilization master. He was much stronger than they had imagined. Dang Yang! The number of stacked hammers increased, and the golden patterns on the projection also increased. 9 hammers were formed. Yellow rank primary level pinnacle. Outside the city. Someone looked and smiled. It's the benevolent and righteous path. Is Suyu going to forge a saint's weapon? It could be considered a joke, but it could also be considered a fact. In the void, white light flickered. It was as if light could be seen in the darkness. The aura was peaceful, and there was even the aura of a book mixed in. This surprised many people. This fellow, Suyu, was still a scholar in his bones. Looking at the projection again, someone couldn't help but laugh. He won't be forging a book, right? It looks like a book to me. I don't understand the thoughts of this scholar. At this moment, many experts and geniuses were observing. Because the other party was Suyu. Everyone was very interested in him. Otherwise, there wouldn't be so many people. In the crowd, an old man and a young man were also observing. Both of them wore special masks, and they weren't from the heaven hunting pavilion. At this moment, the young lady transmitted her voice, "Elder, this killing embryo, is he still considered a scholar? A righteous person? He actually forged a Saint Path literary weapon. Do you believe it?" The fellow called Elder looked around and felt for a moment. He transmitted his voice, "I don't believe it, but it really is a Saint Path weapon. This divine power, the power of light, I feel like I'm a devil." PM not curious about this. What PM curious about is what this guy is using to forge. Why do I feel that the materials are extraordinary? He was also proficient in the power of space and was extremely good at it. At this moment, he could vaguely feel that the things that Suyu was using to forge were not simple. These were not ordinary materials. The young girl was not surprised. She transmitted her voice, "He has money, so it's not strange for him to use whatever to forge." No, forget it. Kong wanted to say something, but he did not say it. He felt that Suyu might have used something incredible to forge. Moreover, Hu Xiansheng had cut a large amount of space before, so he had not felt it yet. It was possible that Suyu had not officially started forging at all. Dang! 18 golden patterns. Peak of middle-tier yellow rank. Around half an hour later, Suyu swung his hammer thousands of times. Each time, he hammered it 1,000 times. The better the material, the harder it was to forge. Suyu could probably finish forging a normal mid-grade yellow rank weapon in a few minutes. The stacking hammer was increased to 90 hammers per strike. Suyu's forehead was covered in sweat. The sweat instantly evaporated by him. It was too late for it to drip down, and it would disturb him. Zhao Li did not make a move. He was only assisting Suyu in forging weapons. Suyu could persevere, so he would not interfere. The flames grew fiercer and fiercer. The book seal had yet to be inlaid, and this was only a book seal. Dang! 20 golden patterns appeared. It was a high-level yellow rank. Suyu did not care about this and continued forging. He was extremely focused. At this moment, he did not care about anything. His only goal was to forge weapons and successfully forge this weapon that was closely related to him. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 24-26, Chapter 24-26, Chapter 5-24 External Saints and Internal Demons 3. Chapter 24-26, Chapter 5-24 External Saints and Internal Demons 3. Dang! Another golden pattern appeared, and the sound of Suyu's hammering became even louder. In the city, some residents began to close their doors. The sound of the hammering made their hearts palpitate, and they felt extremely uncomfortable. As for Su Yu, at this moment, he was constantly changing the divine text, burning it with great fire, and covering it with lightning. He was constantly refining the entire book bone, and the object that carried it was a bone. Even Su Yu felt a little uncomfortable at this moment. It was not a waste, but he was forging it. The difficulty had increased. An hour passed. 27 golden patterns appeared. 2 hours passed, and 36 golden patterns appeared. Peak Yellow Soldier. However, it was only Peak Yellow Soldier, and many people could feel that surging power. A weapon forging Dao expert was speechless. This weapon's foundation is too good. It's still in the foundational stage. What kind of thing did Su Yu use to forge a weapon? His foundational stage has already reached the Peak Yellow Soldier. Someone judged, it's probably the foundation of a heavenly weapon. This guy is planning to forge a heavenly weapon in the future. That's a good idea. However, before he reaches the heavenly weapon stage, if he dies, this embryo will be given to others. As he said that, he laughed. Su Yu's weapon's foundation was definitely good. Up until now, he was still able to smoothly increase the number of golden patterns. This meant that the foundational stage wasn't over yet. After the foundational stage was over, the number of golden patterns wouldn't increase so quickly. At that time, it would be the true start of forging the limit. Dang! A hammering sound shook the void. With a rumbling sound, the projection in the void became much clearer. 37 golden patterns appeared, and the black weapon appeared. In the void, Su Yu's projection was about to appear. His golden body seemed to reflect the void. He was sweating profusely as he hammered the void. A female demon clicked her tongue and said, "What a good figure. I didn't realize that this city lord Su looked so delicate and tender. He still has some stuff. Shameless." On the human side, someone snorted. How shameless. No one paid any attention to them. No one was interested in this. Someone laughed and said, "Tianzhu, what level do you think the weapon Su Yu forged in the end is?" Tianzhu looked over and said indifferently, "Does it have anything to do with you?" Tianzhu, you're so boring. That was an expert from the Earth Fire Demon race. He smiled brightly and said, "How about a bet? I bet that he can forge a mid-grade or high-grade earth weapon." Not interested. Tianzhu King wasn't interested in betting with him. He didn't have any money. Furthermore, he wasn't sure what Su Yu could forge this time. He only knew that Su Yu hadn't officially started forging yet because Niu Bendao hadn't entered yet. Niu Baidao seemed to want to provide Su Yu with some accessories, which meant that it wasn't time yet. Seeing this, the Earth Fire Demon didn't mind. He smiled and said, "What a pity for Su Yu. If he really wanted to focus on the Tao of weapon forging, his achievements might not be lower than heaven forging. Now, he's already stacked up to 108 hammers. The Zhao clan's God expanding hammer is really interesting. I wonder if Zhao Li would be interested in exchanging it for some treasures." The divine expanding hammer of the Zhao clan was the most suitable weapon forging tool. He didn't know how Zhao Li had created it, but of course, it had something to do with his father. His father was a weapon forging grandmaster, and he had left behind many cultivation techniques which Zhao Li had learned from him. The Tianzhu king sneered. He was well aware of Zhao Lp's temper. He had asked someone to trade for it, but Zhao Li hadn't even done so, much less an outsider. The Sky Cast King's bid wasn't low, but Zhao Li didn't even bother with it. In the end, he didn't take a single cent and passed it to Su Yu. Because he felt that Su Yu was suitable, and Su Yu had passed it on to him. Since he felt that it wasn't suitable, he didn't pass it on. After a long while, someone sighed and couldn't help but say, "Why do I feel that City Lord Su? City Lord Su's weapon forging has only reached the mystic rank, and his aura is even stronger than ordinary earth soldiers. Could it be that the soul-expanding art is really that powerful? It has something to do with the materials he uses to forge weapons and the limits of weapon forging. I don't really understand, but I can roughly feel it. How long will it take City Lord Su to forge a weapon? For an Earth soldier, about a day or so. That's still all right. Everyone discussed animatedly while the sounds of Su Yu's hammering continued. The golden patterns were still increasing one after another. At this moment, Su Yu had already inlaid the book into a page. The back of the book had yet to be inlaid, but that was all. At this moment, this book that wasn't considered complete had already reached the mystic rank. In the city lord's manner. Zhao Tianbing read for a while and exhaled. He transmitted his voice, once. The book is embedded, it might reach the peak of the mystic rank. Zhao Li nodded. It was about the same. Just the frame was at the peak of the mystic rank. Furthermore, it was definitely stronger than an ordinary low-grade Earth soldier. He was afraid that Su Yu would not be able to hold on much longer. Forging such a weapon was even harder than forging an ordinary Earth soldier. Su Yu's ability had reached the Earth soldier division level. There was no doubt about that. But how long could he hold on? How long could he hold on? Su Yu did not have such a concept. Up until now, he had expended quite a lot of willpower. However, he recovered quickly. Whether it was Heaven Yuan Qi or other recovery items, he did not use them much. There was no need to worry too much. Furthermore, Yuan Qi could be used to cast weapons. Last time, he and Zhao Li had taken turns to expend Yuan Qi and willpower to cast them. He had too much Yuan Qi, so there was no need to be anxious. Being tired was real. Su Yu did not say a word as he continued casting. The number of golden patterns increased as well. As he hammered down, the massive recoil made his muscles bulge. 41 golden patterns, 42 golden patterns. 3 hours passed. 4 hours passed. The number of golden patterns increased, to a total of 55. The experts looked at the door while the laymen watched the show. Outside, a group of laymen actually did not understand much. Up until now, they were only mystic weapons. Many people did not pay much attention to them. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 24-27, Chapter 24-27, Chapter 5-24 External Saints and Internal Demons 4. Chapter 24-27, Chapter 5-24 External Saints and Internal Demons 4. Only those experts became more and more serious the more they read. He had already cast 55 golden patterns. Why did it feel like Su Yu was still in the preparation stage? Could it be that he really had to lay a foundation to become an Earth soldier? Was it possible? For a full 8 hours. The 72nd golden pattern appeared. The pinnacle of the mystic weapon. At this moment, many people exhaled. It seemed like this was it. Next, Su Yu would go all out and cast the Earth soldier. In the city lord's residence, Su Yu took a look and 2 pages of book seals were embedded in it. The framework was ready. The next thing to do was to fill the book pages, 1 page at a time. However, Su Yu frowned slightly and shook his head. Not enough. The book seal was forged and it was only at the pinnacle of the profound weapon realm. Although he was at the pinnacle of the profound weapon realm and was stronger than the average Earth soldier, this did not meet his expectations. Su Yu took a deep breath and licked his lips. He smiled and said, "Teacher, whether or not I can obtain your true inheritance today will depend on now." Zhao Li glanced at him and sighed. "I'm afraid that you won't be able to hold." "No problem." Before the others could understand, Zhao Tianbing suddenly thought of something and shouted, "Su Yu, think twice. If you want to forge back, the difficulty will be even higher. You won't be able to handle it." "No, I want to try." "If you want to forge, forge the best." I think I can do it. My current strength is much stronger than Zhao Laosher's weapon forging back then. Zhao Li was speechless. Can you King not bring me along? Yes, Suyu wanted to forge a weapon. Forge back. Just like Zhao Li, the 72 golden inscriptions were reforged, and the golden inscriptions were struck back. Once they were struck back, there would be an additional cycle of reincarnation. In reality, it would cause the literary soldiers to become much stronger, but the difficulty would increase exponentially. At that moment, Hu Qi and the others understood as well. They said, Suyu, you want to cast the book bone into an earth soldier? Suyu panted and smiled. That's right. It's too weak if it's not an earth soldier. It's not worthy. With that said, he let out a low shout and retracted all of his willpower. Powerful Yuan Qi instantly boiled. Recasting. He wanted to use Yuan Qi to recast. Boom. A hammer smashed down, but the golden pattern did not dissipate. Instead, it was reduced in size. Recasting was something that Zhao Li had done in the past. Zhao Li looked at it and felt helpless. This kid was really crazy. You haven't even reached the final stage of recasting and you are already recasting. The next stage is even more difficult. Recasting. Outside, the group of people were also stunned. The Earth Fire Demon expert said in surprise, what is he doing? Recast? But he is still in the foundational stage and he is already starting to recast this. Isn't it too early, or is there no need? At this moment, Tianzhu King didn't care that he was a demon, he said in a deep voice, he seems to be just laying the foundation for a weapon. If he recasts now, what if he consumes too much energy? What if he recasts again? He isn't eternal. With such a consumption, how can he keep up with the consumption of stamina, energy, and willpower? The group of weapon forging experts didn't know what Suyu was planning. However, the 72 golden patterns were still within their acceptable range. The others thought that Suyu was going to cast the Earth Soldier, but in the end, there weren't any. There were some who didn't know how to cast the Earth Soldier and said in a strange manner, did he fail? I think the golden patterns are all missing. Those who knew the art looked indifferent. Idiot. If you don't know, then cut the crap. Who told you that if there are fewer golden patterns, then you have failed? There were geniuses from big clans, they smiled and explained, this is the method to forge back. It is also a forging method for a high-level blacksmith who is confident in his own strength to increase the power of his weapon. Once City Lord Su casts this weapon back to the point where there are no golden patterns, he can forge another 72 golden patterns. The power is stronger than an ordinary earth soldier, but the consumption is only the consumption of a mystic weapon. This is also a weapon that many experts yearn for. This time, many people understood. This was amazing. Casting a mystic weapon, but its strength was stronger than an earth weapon. It could also be used less and was easier to use. That was not bad. Someone asked, Fire Paint Immortal Lord, that's Su. City Lord Su should be able to use an earth weapon, right? Why does he still need to cast it back? To lay a foundation. The genius who spoke earlier said, City Lord Su has been laying a foundation until now. His target is not an ordinary earth weapon, but an extremely powerful earth weapon. In terms of forging strength, when City Lord Su once again casts 72 golden patterns, the strength of the casting weapon will be slightly stronger than an ordinary low-grade earth weapon division. Just as they were conversing, one of the golden patterns disappeared, and the forging officially began. When the golden patterns disappeared, the power of the bookshelf seemed to have become even stronger. The golden patterns were the embodiment of strength. At this moment, Suyu had merged them into the bookshelf, so naturally, it would make the bookshelf even stronger. Disappear. Continue to disappear. Another 8 hours passed, and Suyu's forging was completed. All the golden patterns disappeared, and at this moment, the sky was already dark. As for Su Yu, he had been forging for 16 hours straight. The outside world was shocked. This fellow's strength was really strong. At the very least, his endurance was not something that an ordinary person could compare to. Su Yu did not stop. He heaved a sigh of relief and continued to forge while drenched in sweat. After continuously forging for 16 hours, his physical body was continuously trembling and was on the verge of advancing. Su Yu had suppressed it, but it was still not the time. He had to wait a little longer. This time, the golden patterns appeared even faster. 6 hours later, 72 golden patterns appeared once again. This time, not only did 72 golden patterns appear, but an illusory golden pattern also appeared. It was a half-earth soldier. The void shook slightly. Faintly, it seemed like a reward was about to appear. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 24-28, Chapter 24-28, Chapter 5-24 External Saints and Internal Demons 5. Chapter 24-28, Chapter 5-24 External Saints and Internal Demons 5. Ordinary Earth soldiers might not have any rewards. But at this moment, the Earth soldier that Su Yu forged was not ordinary. Moreover, it was a weapon of benevolence. When Su Yu roared and hammered down with his hammer, 73 solid golden patterns appeared. The Earth soldier forging was successful. And at this moment, a gentle power appeared in the air and instantly fused into the bookshelf. Clouds appeared and strengthened the bookshelf. Su Yu was all smiles. I guessed it. As expected, it was a reward. At the very least, it was a reward now. Rules could also be cheated. My weapon had yet to be forged, but my bookshelf was indeed forged according to the pattern of a holy weapon. This was the holy path. Benevolence, benevolence, gentleness, scholarly aura. The bookshelf was a saint. The outside world also let out a soft cry. The Earth soldier had been forged successfully. There was really a reward. Incredible. In the myriad heavens battlefield, it wasn't the first time that there was a reward for forging an Earth soldier. However, there might only be one out of every 100 times. Who would have thought that Su Yu would receive a heaven and earth reward just by forging it once? This fellow could be considered a true Earth soldier. If Su Yu didn't offend him, with his identity as an Earth soldier, he would be able to survive in the myriad realms. Is this considered completed? Someone asked. It wasn't too bad. However, compared to what they had expected, it wasn't too bad. Now that Su Yu's Earth soldier had absorbed the benefits, it instantly gained 3 more golden patterns, reaching 76. It could be considered a decent weapon among low-grade Earth soldiers. However, it was only a low-grade Earth soldier. Almost everyone present had a genius expert. The mountain and sea could use Earth soldiers. It was difficult for ordinary people to obtain them, but as geniuses and experts of various races, there was no lack of Earth soldiers. Su Yu had been at it for so long, and the commotion was not small. To be honest, everyone did not have much hope. Instead, they felt a little disappointed. They had waited for a day in vain. In the city lord's manor, Zhao Li and the others stood up one after another. The outside world thought that it was over, but they knew that it was only the beginning. Zhao Tianbing smiled and said, "Good lad, you have such courage. You even dare to lie to the rules. What holy weapon!" It was a vicious weapon. In the end, Su Yu insisted on turning the bookshelf into a holy weapon and even lied to get the rewards from the rules. Where was the logic in that? It was an eye-opener. Zhao Tianbing could only say that Su Yu was too bold. Next, he might encounter quite a bit of trouble when casting the vicious weapon. Su Yu laughed and said, "Rules are rules. What I cast is a weapon of benevolence and righteousness. It can influence all things. After saying that, Suyu's aura changed and he said in a deep voice, "Everyone, I'm going to officially begin. Next, everyone, stay away from Maya, otherwise, there might be trouble." The group of people nodded. Suyu looked at Zhao Li and said, "Teacher, next, I might be struck by lightning. I will resist it, but the casting cannot stop. You need to help me take over the casting at any time." Zhao Li nodded. A huge hammer appeared in his hand. He took a deep breath and said, "Don't worry. Then it's here." A floating page was thrown into Suyu's hand. On the page, blood qi erupted and clashed with the book. As for Suyu, he smashed down with his hammer and a loud boom sounded. In the air, the projection was originally golden. At this moment, there was a blood-red reflection. In the city lord's mansion, on the page of the book, the phantom of a great demon roared. As if it was unwilling to be sealed, it howled and struggled. However, Suyu hammered it into the page again and again. This time, Suyu had used up a lot of energy. The void projection was also shaking violently, turning blood red. Some people who were about to leave were suddenly stunned and looked in that direction. Originally, there was white light surrounding the area and the holy light was gentle. However, at this moment, it was filled with blood qi and a ferocious aura. Some of the powerful weapon forging masters also came to a realization at this moment. The Tianzhu king sighed and said helplessly, "I knew that kid wasn't that kind. Indeed, it was just laying the foundation previously. He still wants to forge a ferocious weapon." Nan Wujiang looked at it for a while and nodded slightly. "I felt that something was wrong before, but now it's normal." Suyu was pretending to be a kind person. He had killed more people than anyone else. At this moment, in the air, the rules that had just been rewarded suddenly had blood clouds gathering. They seemed to be somewhat angry, the anger of being deceived. Perhaps, there should have been blood clouds, and Suyu was forging a malefic weapon. However, it had yet to turn into a calamity. That was because it was still not a calamity yet. However, if Suyu continued on like this, it would definitely bring about a calamity. A page was fused into the book. The golden patterns did not increase, but the blood clouds did gather. Suyu did not bother with it. The second page was once again summoned by him, and it was instantly pushed into the book. Another gigantic beast projection roared furiously. Suyu was incomparably calm. He hammered the other party into the book again and again. At this moment, the blood cloud became even thicker. Third page, fourth page. By the time the fifth page was completed, the golden inscriptions had increased by 1. There were now 77 golden inscriptions. At this moment the golden inscriptions increased, the blood cloud transformed into a human and charged toward Suyu, toward his book. Blood tribulation. Outside the city, King Tianzhu murmured to himself. Yunchen frowned. "It's only the first wave. If Suyu doesn't stop, he will be met with a tribulation. He has to stop immediately. Otherwise, if this goes on, he will get stronger and stronger. Now, he is comparable to the mountain and sea realm. 77 golden inscriptions, a tribulation comparable to the battle prowess of the mountain and sea realm." As everyone was paying attention, a roar was heard. "I am your calamity." The roar was extremely loud, and a huge mouth appeared. Suyu swallowed the bloody man in one gulp. A huge boom rang out, and the bloody cloud dissipated. Suyu snorted. "A mere mountain and sea realm was not worthy of being my calamity. It just so happens that the bloody calamity is tempering my physical body. I have always wanted to upgrade my physical body, so it's good to suppress it a little." "Savage," someone muttered. "Truly savage. Was the mountain and sea tribulation really that weak?" This savage swallowed it in one gulp, and the sounds of casting continued. Clearly, this tribulation hadn't been able to hurt Suyu in the slightest. Suyu didn't care. He continued to hammer crazily into the pages. The blood cloud continued to gather. Savage weapons had to be punished. In the air, half white and half red, the red was the blood chi, and the white was the divine power. Sacred demon body. This time, after fusing into the 6 pages of the book, another golden pattern appeared with a boom. 78 golden patterns appeared, and the blood cloud once again turned into an afterimage as it charged towards Suyu and the book. Suyu held the hammer in his right hand, and his left hand turned into a fist. He punched out, and the blood shadow exploded. In the next moment, a divine text appeared. The blood divine text had a strong bloody smell, and it instantly absorbed the remnants of the blood cloud. There were no signs of its existence. Suyu continued to forge and fuse with it. The blood cloud gathered in the air once again, and it was even stronger than before. Crazy kid. At this moment, in the Sky Hunting Pavilion, the head of the Sky Division shook his head. He has a lot of custom-made materials, and this is far from all of them. This might just be the beginning. This fellow is going for the celestial weapon. I think that if this goes on, the sun and moon tribulation will appear. He is indeed crazy. I thought that he was really forging a saint weapon, but in the end, he is forging a blood weapon. This fellow's killing intent is still very strong. Who would believe that he is forging a saint weapon? I didn't believe it from the start. The group of invincible experts began to discuss. Watching Suyu forge a weapon was also a form of enjoyment. At the very least, this fellow didn't really stop after forging an earth weapon. Now, watching the heavenly tribulation was also a form of enjoyment. Rules weren't something that would always appear. You're tuning into the Han Lee's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 24-29, Chapter 24-29, Chapter 5-25 Fuse Divine Prose. Chapter 24-29, Chapter 5-25 Fuse Divine Prose. 78 lines. 78 golden lines, and the blood cloud appeared again. With a boom, this time, the blood cloud turned into a long spear and stabbed towards Suyu. It merged into page 18 of the book. Suyu held the hammer in one hand and attacked with one hand. With one punch, he blew up the blood spear. The blood word divine prose appeared again, absorbing the blood chi. Suyu's aura was powerful. The god-expanding hammer was extremely stable and did not tremble at all. The huge recoil shook his body, but Suyu was able to withstand it. Rumble. Pages after pages were absorbed by him, and the phantoms of beasts roared and roared. The more they were absorbed, the more the book beside Suyu trembled. It wanted to resist, as if it wanted to leave. With a low shout, the divine text exploded, suppressing the book. Suyu's sweat poured down like rain, and he continued forging. At this moment, the blood cloud gathered even faster. There was a reward for the saint weapon and a punishment for the blood weapon. Suyu scoffed. What bullsh** T rules? There were countless worlds in the universe and there were endless battles. It should be punished for forging the saint weapon. Was the saint weapon really going to influence the opponent? What a joke. The only way to stop the killing was to stop the battle with the battle. 79 golden patterns were about to appear. At this moment, numerous blood swords shot towards him. The blood swords were all very powerful and had the power of mountains and seas. However, Suyu's strength was not to be underestimated. With a backhand palm, he destroyed the blood arrows and continued to nurture the blood-colored divine script. The 79 golden patterns appeared. Absorb. With a muffled shout, Suyu took a deep breath. A large amount of heaven yuan qi was absorbed by him and his yuan qi recovered a little. Suyu bit down on a divine yuan qi fruit and recovered his yuan qi before continuing to forge. At that moment, the 80th golden pattern appeared. Boom! Blood-colored lightning appeared, striking in all directions. It once again struck toward Su Yu and the book. Su Yu's divine text shot out, and in the air. Divine text and blood-colored blood clouds fought. Explosions rang out continuously. After a long while, there was an explosion, and the blood clouds were scattered. At this moment, the power of the blood clouds was almost close to the 7th level of the mountain and sea realm. Zhao Tianbing quickly shouted, "Be careful. At 82, there will definitely be a high-level mountain and sea blood tribulation." It wasn't an easy task to forge weapons and defend against the blood tribulation. At the same time, the book was roaring, and the pages were filled with roaring beasts. They seemed to be resisting, struggling, unwilling to be enslaved by Su. Weapons needed to be forged, and they were still resisting. The more they fused, the stronger the resistance. The blood cloud continued to descend, warning Su Yu to give up forging and stop here. Su Yu grunted. He had paid such a high price, how could he stop? Su Yu's young aperture was fully opened, and he had the strength of a late-stage Sun-Moon realm cultivator. At this moment, even a heavenly weapon could be used. Only 109 or more golden patterns were heavenly weapons. What was the use of forging a low-grade Earth soldier book? Taking advantage of this opportunity, he would forge to whatever extent he could, until he reached his limit. He would never give up. He hadn't even fused many of the 300-page book yet. An hour later, as Su Yu was drenched in sweat, the 81st golden inscription appeared. It was the peak of the low-grade Earth weapon. Rumble. At this moment, the blood cloud in the sky transformed into a few small figures, all of them possessing the power of the peak of the 6th level of the mountain and sea realm. They instantly charged towards Su Yu, and Su Yu's divine inscriptions also engaged in a great battle in the sky. Su Yu didn't have the time to pay attention to them. At this moment, he was suppressing the book and forcefully forging it, fusing the pages into it. The 81 golden patterns had already fused into the 45 pages of the book. Forging it was even more difficult. Su Yu had a feeling that he couldn't suppress it. It wasn't that he couldn't suppress his strength, but that when he forged it, he felt like he was going to deviate from it, like he was going to be shaken off. On the side, Zhao Li shouted, "I said, do it. Hammer strike 162 times, divided into 3 times, first strong, then weak." Su Yu did not ask and followed Zhao Lpi's instructions. On the other side, Zhao Tianbing's eyes were bright as he quickly said, "Light the 5 elements fire, set up the 5 elements cage, and trap this book first. It's good stuff, I just cast it here, it has some spirituality now." The two of them were giving pointers from the side. Su Yu did not think and did not have time to think. He kept listening to their words and made adjustments. As expected, the rebellion of the book was suppressed by him. 82 golden patterns were about to be cast. It was a mid-level Earth soldier. "Junior brother, get ready," Zhao Tianbing shouted. Once the 82 golden patterns were cast, there would definitely be a disaster in the mountains and seas. It wasn't that Su Yu couldn't handle it, but the key was that he was too scattered. If he went all out, the weapon forging would fail. Under such circumstances, it was already good enough that Su Yu could use 30% of his strength. Zhao Li nodded. He quickly said, "Go ahead and forge. I can take over the weapon forging lineage at any time." This was Zhao Lpi's role. Otherwise, when Su Yu faced a calamity, he might fail if he was distracted. This calamity was targeted at the person who forged the weapon and the weapon. Only the weapon forging practitioner could deal with it. Su Yu did not speak either. He continued to swing his huge hammer, causing rumbling sounds. The slightest carelessness would cause the golden patterns to break. If that happened, the weapon forger would fail. He did not dare to be careless. With Zhao Li around, Su Yu could more or less feel at ease. The pages continued to fuse with the book. With a single hammer strike, the consumption was even greater, and the recoil force was even stronger. The book was still resisting. Boom! Not only was it resisting, but the fused phantoms were actually still attacking Su Yu. Although the attack was not very strong, it almost caused him to miss the hammer. Su Yu's eyes were cold and fierce as he roared. A furious roar was like the roar of heaven and earth. With a rumble, those phantoms were shattered by his roar and were once again forcefully hammered into the book by Su Yu. The outside world was surging with wind and clouds. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 2430, Chapter 2430, Chapter 525 Fuse Divine Prose 2. Chapter 2430, Chapter 525 Fuse Divine Prose 2. The faces of the Tianzhu king and the others were all solemn. He's going to be a mid-tier earth soldier. This kid first forged the holy bone and then forged the demon soldier. He sure knows how to play with the rules, but with the sacred demon body, it's even harder for him to forge it. Yun Chen nodded with a solemn expression. Su Yu was so bold and bold. Su Yu himself had not reached this stage. He was already at the level of a mid-level earth weapon forging division. However, the power of this weapon seemed to have surpassed it. Yet, he was still forging it. Could this fellow hold? Could he control it? More and more people gathered to watch. Some of the veteran weapon forging divisions that had not appeared for a long time, including the Heaven Weapon Division, rushed to this place under the escort of many experts. Weapons that were forged with both saint and devil bodies. Su Yu was still young, and he was forging. This was a grand occasion for the weapon forging Dao, so it was only natural for him to come and observe. An old and trembling old man bent his back and listened carefully. Not good. The sounds of the hammers are a little mixed. Did the weapon forging merge with the blood spirit? Outsiders did not understand, but the experts could not help but nod. At this moment, Tianzhu King was also listening carefully. He listened to the change of the hammer sound and the noise within. After feeling it for a while, he shouted, Su Yu, adjust. Use the 5 elements forging method. Don't force it. Su Yu was still insisting on using the Zhao clan forging method. Tianzhu King frowned slightly. This fellow didn't trust him. If he continued to force it, it would be very troublesome. Within the city lord's manor, Zhao Tianbing frowned slightly and said, listen to him. However, Zhao Li shouted, continue with the Zhao clan's forging method. Soft on the outside but firm on the inside. If the pressure was reduced, these things wouldn't listen to him in the future. Even if the forging failed, he shouldn't be gentle and be firm to the end. This way, if the forging succeeded, only then would these dead fellows be obedient. Zhao Tianbing looked at his junior brother with some dissatisfaction. He transmitted his voice and shouted, if the forging fails, do you know how much he will lose? I only know that a disobedient weapon is better broken than successful. What is the point of having a weapon that can devour its master? In this world, vicious weapons and devouring master weapons are all forged by people like. Zhao Li snorted coldly. Tianzhu King was right, and so was Zhao Tianbing. If they followed their method, the forging success rate would definitely increase. These two people, one was a heaven-grade weapon master, and the other was a peak earth-grade weapon master. They were not undeserving of their reputation. However, according to what they said, Su Yu's weapon had the possibility of backfiring on its master in the future. The vicious weapons that backfired on their master in the world often came from this, because they were unwilling to fail in forging. This was because they could not suppress their vicious nature now. In the future, once Su Yu collected blood and stored corpses, the weapon would become even stronger. The backfire would be even more severe and terrifying. Only when forging weapons would Su Yu be even more vicious than them. As for Su Yu, he naturally listened to old Zhao. He did not say anything and continued to forcefully hammer. The afterimages that were blasted away continued to dissipate, and the entire book continued to tremble. Even space itself seemed to be seeping out. If it had been anyone else, they might have changed their forging techniques, and Suyu might have also learned the 5 elements forging technique. However, he didn't change it. Just as old Zhao had said, he had to defeat his own weapon. What was the point of having a disobedient weapon? Boom! The void trembled, and 82 golden patterns appeared. In an instant, 3 blood-colored creatures charged towards Suyu, each with the strength of the 7th level of the mountain and sea realm. Die! Suyu roared and kicked out, but his arm was as steady as Mount Tai as he continued to forge. The 3 blood-colored creatures were smashed into pieces by his kick in the air. The blood character continued to absorb the blood-colored light. Earth Soldier mid-tier. Suyu was also panting, and more than 50 pages had been merged into the. The further he went, the more difficult it became. The spaces were repelling each other, and the repelling force increased greatly. Zhao Li looked at Zhao Tianbing and the others and said in a low voice. Everyone, please leave. The few of them frowned. Hu Xianqing hurriedly said, let's go. You guys leave this place. PLL stay here. If this kid blows up his weapon later and hundreds of spaces explode, the sun and moon will also be finished. If I stay here, I can still save him in time. Suyu suddenly smiled and said, Dean really looks down on me. Hu Xianqing was shocked. Don't talk, don't listen to us. Focus on forging. What are you doing? You still have the mood to talk to us? You lunatic, don't you know how much trouble will be caused if the forging fails and hundreds of dimensions explode? At this moment, in the back hall, Xing Hong suddenly said, it doesn't matter. If it really explodes, PLL take action. The moment he said that, the few of them heaved a sigh of relief. That was good. And at that moment, Suyu swallowed the last demonic god fruit in one gulp. He took out 4, while the others used 3. There was still 1 left, and there was still 1 left. After swallowing it in one gulp, Suyu's lifeblood, Yuan Qi, and willpower rapidly recovered. Some of the injuries left behind by the backlash from before quickly recovered. At this moment, Suyu had once again recovered to his peak. In an instant, his strength recovered. With a roar, he forcefully cast it once again. With a rumbling sound, the 83rd golden pattern appeared. The massive rebounding force caused him to lose control of his hammer. He had yet to reach this stage. The strength of a weapon forging was different from fighting. At this moment, he was losing control. At this moment, a huge hammer smashed down. Zhao Lp's hammer smashed out and suppressed the trembling book. He shouted, adjust, quickly. Adjust? Yes, at this moment, Suyu rose into the air and roared. With a punch, he smashed a blood cloud that had yet to disperse into pieces. He smashed it until the sky collapsed and the earth cracked. This was adjustment. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 2431, Chapter 2431, Chapter 525 Fuse Divine Prose 3. Chapter 2431, Chapter 525 Fuse Divine Prose 3. Something went wrong with the forging, so he had to kill a blood calamity to adjust himself. After Suyu finished killing the blood cloud, he turned around and descended. At the instant Zhao Li dropped his hammer, he once again joined in. Teacher, you should retreat first. Just save your life at the critical moment. I can't let Zhao Li consume too much energy. Otherwise, if something went wrong just now, it would be troublesome if Zhao Li was powerless to intervene in the rescue. Suyu hadn't reached his limit yet, so Suyu quickly said, I still have some tricks up my sleeve. Teacher, don't worry. This is just so. My physical body hasn't even advanced yet. I won't be able to cast my physical body until the 91 golden patterns appear. Su Yu was even prepared to cast his physical body when the 108 golden patterns appear. There should be some heaven and earth rewards that could be used to draw out the rewards. He wanted his weapon to instantly have a few more golden patterns. Zhao Li didn't say anything. He waited for Su Yu to completely take over before quickly retreating. His strength was still a little lacking. Just a few strikes had already caused the bones in his hands to crack. Zhao Li's expression was solemn. Su Yu's physical body was also powerful. Otherwise, when he forged 83 golden patterns, that huge rebound force would have shaken him to death. Without the sun and moon strength, it was very difficult to forge weapons to such an extent. Even if one's skill had reached that level, one could not do it without strength. Zhao Li himself had reached the level of vision, experience, and skill. However, he could not forge such a powerful weapon because his strength was not enough. Unless someone assisted him, he would be shocked to death. Su Yu took over and started forging again. Outside the city, Tianzhu King sighed and did not speak again. Su Yu did not change his forging method, so he understood what Su Yu meant. To forge an obedient weapon. Failure meant failure, but he would not yield to a weapon for the sake of success. Tianzhu King smiled bitterly. This was also a problem of choice, or rather, a problem of wealth. He did not know how much Su Yu had invested in this weapon, but he knew that it was definitely a lot. Perhaps it was beyond his imagination. In any case, Tianzhu King was reluctant to invest so much, and in the end, the forging of the weapon failed. It was too extravagant. Even if this weapon was not very obedient and could be adjusted and repaired later on, he would still be able to forge this weapon. Otherwise, the losses would be too heavy, and he would not be able to recover for hundreds of years. Su Yu was still young. Money came too quickly, and he did not know how to treasure it. The Tianzhu King mocked in his heart. When you and this old man are like this, even though you are a celestial weapon master, you will know how wasteful and extravagant you are. At that time, as long as the forging is successful, why would you care if the weapon devours its master or not? At the side, Yun Chen muttered, perhaps, he's the one who's right. The Tao of forging weapons and the Tao of cultivation shouldn't be compromised. You should press forward with indomitable will. As he spoke, he closed his eyes silently. Press forward with indomitable will. It sounded simple, but there were a few who did it. I didn't do it. That year, in order to attain the Tao, I chose to fake my death. I chose not to face it anymore. Press forward with indomitable will, it's too difficult. My Tao might have been broken because of this. The last time, he failed to attain the Tao. He wasn't able to merge his three bodies into one. No matter how strong he was only quasi-invincible now and not invincible. Perhaps, he still had an obsession and was unwilling to accept it. Just as Tianzhu King and the others were thinking about this, Su Yu's trouble came again. At this moment, blood clouds gathered in the sky. However, when Su Yu completed the 84 golden patterns, the blood clouds actually didn't descend. Zhao Lp's expression changed, and Zhao Tianbing also said, the rules are changing. This means that I have to accumulate. Accumulate? Su Yu was stunned. How could he play this game? Then, I have failed in forging, or I have stopped forging. Does this mean that you are not going to hit me? After defeating the blood tribulation several times, the other party actually learned to accumulate. Then, I will go up now and defeat it. Zhao Tianbing said hesitantly, perhaps it will appear again. The blood tribulation hasn't descended yet, so even if you defeat it, it will be replenished continuously. Speechless. What does that mean? Wait until I reach 91 paths before you attack me. Is there such a saying? Zhao Tianbing wasn't too familiar with it either. He had forged weapons for many years, but the number of times he encountered disasters wasn't that many either. Su Yu didn't care anymore. He continued to forge weapons. He was also prepared. If the problem was too big, he could cast his body 72 times in an instant. He might be able to solve the problem. Time slowly passed. Su Yu crazily devoured the Heaven Yuan Qi and Divine Yuan Qi fruits, constantly recovering. In the sky, more and more blood clouds appeared. Su Yu did not care about this. 85 golden patterns, 86 golden patterns, 87 golden patterns. The number of pages in the book continued to decrease. When the 88 golden patterns appeared, there were already 130 pages. The further one went, the harder it was for the golden patterns to appear. There were more pages that needed to be integrated. The blood cloud had already blotted out the sky. Crazy. At this moment, someone said in astonishment, "If he doesn't give up, I feel that he has already reached the lethality of the sun and moon. Does he really want to forge a heavenly weapon?" There were already 88 golden patterns. The more the blood cloud accumulated, the more terrifying it became. If it really reached 91 golden patterns, it might instantly explode with the destructive power of the 4th or 5th level of the sun and moon. He's strong enough, what's there to be afraid of? What do you know? Once the lightning strike explodes, he will still be forging a weapon. At that time, even if he can block it, the weapon will be destroyed. I think the price he has to pay for this weapon might be beyond imagination. If the weapon is destroyed, that would be the true loss. The outside world was abuzz with discussion. Zhao Li was also extremely nervous as he shouted, "Su Yu, it might explode when the 91 golden patterns appear. You have to be careful." Understood. Su Yu gritted his teeth and continued forging. The 89 golden patterns gradually appeared. On the book, the phantom beasts charged towards Su Yu. In the air, the blood clouds continued to gather. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 2432, Chapter 2432, Chapter 525 Fuse Divine Prose 4. Chapter 2432, Chapter 525 Fuse Divine Prose 4. Su Yu's tribulation divine prose began to pulsate. Danger. Suddenly, Su Yu cursed loudly, "Teacher." Zhao Li instantly swung his hammer and joined in, while Su Yu broke through the air. At this moment, the blood cloud transformed into a human figure. It was just a single person, and it charged towards Su Yu with the power of the 5th level of the sun and moon. Su Yu cursed madly. Playing dirty. This blood cloud was actually playing dirty with him. If it wasn't for the jumping of the Calamity Divine script, Su Yu wouldn't even know that it would explode when the 89 golden patterns appeared. F***ck. Su Yu cursed loudly as he fought with the bloody figure in the air. Below, Zhao Li's hammer smashed out, and with a rumble, his qi and blood boiled, and his thumb cracked. He also cursed inwardly. This was crazy. The rules were playing dirty. Well, no one told them that the bloody cloud would appear when there were 91 golden patterns. It was normal for the other party to appear when there were 89 golden patterns. At this moment, they were not the only ones who did not react. The experts outside were also stunned. Holy shit. This was an eye-opener. The bloody disaster did not stop at a certain point, but it descended randomly. Are you afraid? Everyone thought that it would stop there, but in the end, it didn't. Su Yu's reaction speed was really fast, and more importantly, there was still someone who could help him withstand it for a while. Otherwise, the weapon forging would have been destroyed this time. Go to hell. Su Yu roared and punched again and again, causing the bloody figure to continuously collapse. It lasted for 3 minutes. Su Yu roared and used his hand as a blade. He slashed out with his blade, shattering the bloody figure. Then, the blood word divine text absorbed the bloody figure. Below, Zhao Li spat out blood and kept on swinging his hammer. Su Yu quickly fell down, and Zhao Li spat out blood. He waited for Su Yu to take over the forging before quickly retreating. Without saying a word, he began to devour treasures to recover from his injuries. While he recovered, he shouted, "Zhao Tianbing, help me repair my hammer. Hurry up." On the other side, Zhao Tianbing was cursing. "I'm your senior brother. You're begging me, yet you're still so overbearing. Forget it, forget it. As the son of AB** starred, I won't argue with him." A few weapon forging divisions quickly stepped forward to help him repair his huge hammer. Su Yu was able to endure it because Su Yu was too strong, and Zhao Li wasn't. He was only at the mountain and sea realm, and within 3 minutes, he was almost shaken to death. As for Su Yu, it was also extremely difficult for him to forge and fuse again. This time, without old Zhao, forging a fart would have failed a long time ago. Su Yu had to admit that he was still too inexperienced. He had overestimated himself. He had underestimated the shamelessness of the blood tribulation. There was no such thing. Moreover, he had not fused with the divine runes yet. Once he fused with it, Su Yu was worried that he would encounter an even greater calamity. Perhaps, he could wait a little longer. Rumble. The blood cloud gathered once again. This time, Su Yu did not dare to be careless. He was always careful in case the blood cloud suddenly descended. After a long time, the 90th golden pattern appeared. Earth rank intermediate peak. The 91st golden pattern was an earth rank advanced weapon. More than half of the pages had been fused. There were only 140 pages left. Perhaps it could only support the appearance of 7 or 8 golden patterns. At that time, it might only be able to reach the advanced peak, or it might be lucky to reach the peak of earth rank. Su Yu did not care about this anymore. He could not hold on any longer. If he really could not forge a heavenly weapon, that was normal. If he could not, he would first forge an earth weapon. However, he had to outline the illusory golden patterns. Otherwise, it would be very difficult to raise the weapon's level in the future. Only after more than 144 golden patterns could he reach the stage of a divine weapon. The gap was still huge. This time, the blood cloud went crazy again. 89 golden patterns had just appeared. This time, the blood cloud actually did not accumulate anymore. Suddenly, it charged toward Su Yu again. Su Yu cursed loudly and threw out a ball. Outsiders could not help stop the blood tribulation. Now, it was not an outsider. Hairy Ball was very special. It felt like it was similar to Su Yu's divine runes. It had always been like this. Su Yu shouted, "Hairy Ball, swallow it for me." Ah, so strong. Little Hairy Ball turned pale with fright. It was too fragrant. This was so strong. That's just the power of the rules. You can do it. Su Yu encouraged him. Old Zhao had not recovered yet, so he did not have time to go up and destroy that thing. He handed it to little Hairy Ball and gave it a little push. Hairy Ball squeaked. This was too much. However, there was nothing he could do. He opened his mouth wide and little Hairy Ball instantly swelled up. So be it, I'll eat it. He swallowed the bloody man in one bite. In the next moment, a little hairy ball turned into a big hairy ball and continued to expand. It felt like it was about to explode. Little hairy ball's entire body was emitting blood chi as it flew everywhere under the impact. It said miserably, "I can't take it anymore. I'm going to explode. Digest it. You can do it." Su Yu encouraged it and quickly ignored it. It wasn't that easy to die. If it was that easy to die, he wouldn't throw it away. At worst, he would just eat until he was full. It was fine. He threw out a blood word divine text as a way to help the small hairy ball deal with the pressure and continue to be himself. Outside the city, the group of people were also dazzled by what they saw. This weapon forging had to be a battle of wits and courage with the rules. It was enough. 90 golden patterns. Earth Soldier Intermediate Peak. Does this mean that City Lord Su is considered an Earth Soldier Intermediate level weapon forging master? This is too exaggerated. Those experts didn't say anything. It wasn't an exaggeration. Of course, it was still the same saying. Su Yu's weapon foundation was too good. This was also one of the reasons. If he was given normal Earth Soldier Intermediate grade materials, Su Yu might not be able to forge an Earth Soldier Intermediate grade weapon. Then, he wouldn't be considered an Earth Soldier Intermediate grade weapon forger. Once the 91st path is out, he'll be in big trouble. It might end here. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 2433, Chapter 2433, Chapter 525 Fuse Divine Prose 5. Chapter 2433, Chapter 525 Fuse Divine Prose 5. That's about it. They even threw out the God-devouring tribe. They are almost at their limit. The group of experts discussed in secret. They couldn't be bothered to discuss with the layman. There was no meaning to it. Instead, it was the half-baked weapon forging division that was explaining to those people. It was meaningless. Not long after they finished speaking, Yuan Qi gathered in the surroundings. The 91st golden pattern was about to appear. Earth Soldier High Tier. This was a weapon that could truly be used in the sun and moon. At this moment, the blood clouds gathered crazily. This time, a bloody figure walked out with a blood-colored armor. Zhao Lp's expression changed. I'll do it. You go up and take care of it. Su Yu gritted his teeth and glanced at Zhao Li. Old Zhao's injuries weren't light, and his physical body was too weak. It had only lasted for 3 minutes, so the tremors weren't light. He wanted to cast his body. Zhao Li seemed to know what he wanted to do, and he shouted, "Wait a little longer, wait for an opportunity, wait to reach the peak." With that, he joined in with the hammer in hand. He could still hold on, but now that Su Yu had cast his body, he might have reached his limit. Then, this book might only be able to reach the high level of Earth Soldier today, at least until he reached the peak. Su Yu gritted his teeth and quickly retreated. He flew into the air. This time, he directly swallowed a drop of blood essence. The power of the 7th level of the sun and moon erupted. The moment the bloody man general appeared, he was slashed into pieces by Su Yu with a furious roar. Humph! You want to play dirty with me? I can do it too. Do you really think I'm Ling Yun? I can erupt with the power of the sun and moon. I can't beat you to death. The blood word divine script continued to devour. At this moment, he felt like he was about to advance. Su Yu was secretly shocked. Would this become the first level 5 divine script? That would be interesting. He didn't use much of his first divine script, but it had been growing stronger. If this continued, Su Yu felt that Brother Shui might become his first level 5 divine script. He had many divine scripts, but the blood word divine script didn't have any advantages. How could he be the first to advance? With some strange thoughts in his mind, Su Yu quickly descended. At this moment, his 7th level sun-moon power erupted. He instantly took over, but Zhao Li did not retreat. He shouted, "I'll go with you. Your strength has increased explosively, and your control is too low. It's easy to fail." Su Yu nodded. He needed old Zhao's help. Previously, he had not swallowed the blood essence because he was worried that the increase in strength would be too great, and it would not be beneficial for him to forge weapons. Old Zhao helped from the side. Now that Su Yu was stronger, it was easier to forge. 91 golden patterns. Earth weapon of a higher level. At this moment, Su Yu and Old Zhao had gained a lot. However, the pressure was also huge. When the ferocious beasts attacked them again, Su Yu could still quickly break them. However, Old Zhao was hard to break. His body shook and blood flowed. Zhao Li gritted his teeth and did not care about this. He was not the main force. He was only helping Su Yu to forge. He was trying his best to guide Su Yu to forge. This way, the book would be more compatible with Su Yu. An hour later, 92 golden patterns appeared. This time, Su Yu quickly left. Old Zhao forced himself to stare. Blood continuously spurted from his mouth. In less than a minute, Su Yu returned. The bloody man was once again destroyed by him. 93 golden patterns, 94 golden patterns. The number of golden patterns increased, and the number of pages in the book decreased. After preparing 300 pages, there were less than 80 pages left. If there were 4 or 5 more times, the book would probably run out of pages. Su Yu secretly took a deep breath. He had to persist until at least 99 golden patterns. Then, he would cast his own body or fuse it with divine runes, making the book even more powerful. The repeated blood tribulations made Su Yu and Old Zhao unable to bear it. It was difficult to cast a weapon. As for Zhao Tianbing and the others, the only thing they could do at this moment was to help Zhao Li repair his big hammer. Because the book was stronger than his hammer, the recoil caused his hammer to continuously shatter. This was his weapon to achieve Tao, and Old Zhao had merged it with the divine text. Su Yu didn't say anything and didn't let Old Zhao leave either. His teacher was determined to help him cast a powerful weapon to achieve Tao. If he let him leave now, he wouldn't leave either. When his teacher really couldn't hold on any longer, he would immediately forge his own body. Su Yu thought to himself as he merged the pages of the book into it once again. He continued to defeat the blood clouds. At this moment, the blood clouds were already at the 5th or 6th level of the Sun-Moon realm. This thing was even stronger than expected. There was no earth-forging weapon that could produce such a powerful blood tribulation. 99. The moment the 99 golden patterns appeared, all the pages were forged. Earth-forging weapon at the peak of the advanced level. One step away from the peak of the earth-forging weapon. Zhao Tianbing and the others thought that it was over and heaved a sigh of relief. Thankfully, it was finally over. It was almost over. The 99 golden patterns weren't weaker than ordinary weapons with 108 golden patterns. On the contrary, they were stronger. This was fine. However, at this moment, Su Yu hesitated for a moment. He gritted his teeth, and the 2 divine inscriptions suddenly merged into the cover. Civilization. When the 2 divine inscriptions merged, a loud boom sounded. The book began to resist violently. Su Yu was going to completely enslave the book. The 99 golden inscriptions instantly went from 99 to 100,101,102. In the sky, the blood clouds gathered. This time, they did not descend, but continued to gather. Their auras became stronger and stronger. 6th level Sun-Moon, 7th level Sun-Moon. After a while, 8th level Sun-Moon. Zhao Lp's expression changed drastically. Give up, quickly. The improvement was too fast. Under the convergence of the blood clouds, he had reached the 8th level in the blink of an eye. Su Yu had once used the power of the 8th level Sun-Moon, but the situation was different now. Su Yu was already at the end of his rope. As for Su Yu, he was also extremely surprised when he saw the increasing number of golden patterns. These 2 divine inscriptions were too compatible with this book. They had actually increased the number of divine inscriptions to 105. He raised his head to look at the sky. The blood cloud was extremely powerful and was still getting stronger. Su Yu took a deep breath. Old turtle, it looks like I'll have to ask you to help me seal it again. If I don't open my young aperture, there's no way I can beat it. The young aperture seal was shattered instantly. In the passageway, Xingyu cursed angrily. It's happening again. You bastard, you're sucking me again. Lord Monarch, give me more. If you succeed, I'll give you some benefits. Give it to your grandpa. I don't need it. Xingyu cursed angrily in her heart, but she still quickly injected a large amount of death aura into Suyu. You bastard. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 2434, Chapter 2434, Chapter 526 Weapon Forging Failed. Heavily. Chapter 2434, Chapter 526 Weapon Forging Failed. Heavily. Injured and dying. Show subscribe, 1. How could this be? At this moment, countless people were surprised. How could this be possible? In an instant, 6 golden patterns had been added. Impossible. How could this be possible? Tianzhu King was so shocked that his jaw dropped. This old man had forged weapons for hundreds of years, and this was the first time he had seen 6 golden patterns added in an instant. It wasn't a trash weapon, but a top-notch Earth soldier. It really happened in an instant. What the hell was going on? At this moment, Suyu also noticed something strange about the book. The word civilization was branded on the book's cover. It was as if it was born here. And at this moment, the giant beast phantoms in the book were all suppressed by these 2 divine inscriptions. Civilization. Suyu was prepared to create the annals of all races, but at this moment, he was slightly stunned. The word civilization was clearly visible on this page, and Suyu could already feel the connection between himself and this book. It was as if this book was his own divine text. At this moment, he was somewhat absent-minded. It was as if he saw something. He saw the past of those giant beasts. The characteristics of the 2 words civilization were currently being displayed. And the instant the 2 words civilization were branded, the blood cloud in the sky became even stronger. Suyu's aura was soaring, and the blood cloud's aura was also soaring. At this moment, the blood cloud's law energy transformed into human form. Not 1, but 5 or 6 appeared in an instant. Soon, 7 or 8. In the blink of an eye, more than 10 human figures appeared. Dang Sha! Dang Sha! Dang Sha! The phantoms had powerful auras. At this moment, everyone inside and outside the city was dumbfounded. Those blood figures seemed to be living people, but everyone knew that they weren't living people, but law incarnations. At this moment, these bloody figures actually spoke. This was the first time. In the back hall, Xing Hong's expression changed. Impossible. How could this be? At the same time, an incomparably huge hall suddenly descended. It was the heaven hunting pavilion that had never dared to appear. However, at this moment, it appeared. In the heaven hunting hall, an illusory figure appeared and muttered, "Impossible." A moment later, an ancient city descended. Under the premise that Suyu did not summon it, Hongmeng ancient city descended. Old Turtle instantly opened his eyes. Suddenly, looking at the book in Suyu's hand, the civilization picture book, Old Turtle's expression changed slightly and he said softly, "How could it be?" Old Turtle looked at the blood shadows in the sky again and his eyes flickered. He had provoked these rules. Suyu was too reckless. He was in big trouble. Not only Heaven Hunting Pavilion and Hongmeng Ancient City. At this moment, the void was torn apart. Powerful willpower instantly descended. Some were surprised, and some were surprised. Some looked at Suyu, and in the next moment, a world-shaking, indifferent voice sounded, "Suyu of the Ancient City, heaven and earth cannot tolerate this. If he survives today's tribulation, all races will kill him. Tian-gu. Someone was extremely surprised. This was the immortal Emperor Tian-gu, the #1 expert of the immortal race, an incomparably ancient existence. He actually issued a kill order to Su Yu. This was the first time. It wasn't that the immortal race had never killed before, but whether it was Yi Batian or Xia Longwu, these half-emperors didn't intervene, nor did they say that they had to kill him. If they could kill their subordinates, they could kill them. If they couldn't, it wasn't a big deal. But today, Tian-gu did not say a word and directly issued a kill order. At this moment, he tore off all decorum and said indifferently, all celestials must kill Su Yu if they meet him. Killing Su Yu is the fortune of all races. Su Yu was also stunned. It was true. He did not expect that an immortal emperor's willpower would suddenly descend and give him a kill order. Why? This was the first time in 1,000 years, right? At this moment, willpower descended one after another. The great Qin king's voice sounded as he said coldly, Tian-gu, what do you want to do? The heavenly ancient immortal emperor ignored him and said coldly again, gods, devils, dragons, Ming, ancient existences of all races, can there still be living beings? Is there any doubt that Su Yu should be killed? The heavenly ancient immortal emperor was a rather low-key old antique. Even if he did not have good relations with the humans, he still spoke nicely. But at this moment, he took the initiative to issue a kill order to Su Yu. And at this moment, in the void of the divine realm, the divine emperor's voice rang out, if you survive the tribulation, you must be killed. All beings of the divine realm, Su Yu, must be killed. The underworld agrees. The dragon realm agrees. There was no sound from the demon realm. At this moment, the phantom of the demon emperor appeared, but his eyes were strange and flickering. He didn't make a sound. What was going on? The devil emperor didn't really know what had happened. They knew that Su Yu had forged a weapon. The weapon forged was very powerful and had brought disaster. He also knew this. However, when those rules appeared, Tian-gu's attitude suddenly changed. He went from being a bystander to participating personally. He even joined forces with other worlds to kill Su Yu. This was strange. At this moment, Old Turtle's voice sounded, kill Su Yu or not, all the races are free to do so. However, within the rules, where the sacred city is, if you dare to kill, the rules shall be destroyed. Hong Meng. Tian-gu was extremely cold, you should know what he is doing. I know. Then killing Su Yu is the rules. No, you can't represent the rules. Old Turtle said slowly, no one can replace the rule. He can only die if the rule allows him to die. You guys can't represent the rule. At this moment, the void was torn apart and a towering heaven origin fruit tree appeared. An enormous hairy ball covered the sky and Sunday. At this moment, Hairy Ball looked at Su Yu with its huge eyes filled with doubt. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 2435, Chapter 2435, Chapter 526 Weapon Forging Failure. Heavily Injured and Dying, 2. Chapter 2435, Chapter 526 Weapon Forging Failure. Heavily Injured and Dying, 2. A moment later, Big Hairy Ball's voice shook the heavens and earth, Tian-gu, come out, I'll eat you. Try it. In the next moment, beside Big Hairy Ball, Mother Ball also looked at Su Yu with a strange expression. She quickly said, kill Su Yu, we'll eat you. In an instant, half-emperors appeared one after another. They were all projections, and their true bodies had yet to arrive. No, Old Turtle's true body had arrived. Tian-gu did not say much. He said indifferently, there are some things that you know and I know. Su Yu should be killed. Since you won't allow it, then we'll rely on our own abilities. As he finished speaking, his voice disappeared, and the projection disappeared. And at this moment, Suyu suddenly said in a clear voice, "Tiangu, did I sleep with your wife? Or did I sleep with your mother?" The heavens were silent. Under normal circumstances, Suyu would not provoke these half-emperors if he could. However, this time, for some baffling reason, the heavenly ancient immortal emperor suddenly gave him a kill order. Of course, Suyu had some guesses that it might be related to the sudden appearance of the blood shadows, or perhaps it was related to his civilization picture album. However, it had nothing to do with Tiangu. This guy came and suddenly wanted to contact the 10,000 races to kill him. How could Suyu be polite to him? At this moment, the 10 blood shadows in the air were getting stronger and stronger. They didn't come to kill Suyu in an instant. Instead, they surrounded Suyu. Their auras were extremely powerful. Each and every one of them had the aura of the late stage of the sun and moon, and even the 8th stage had transformed into the 9th stage. In fact, Suyu was also extremely surprised. F***ck. This calamity was a little too powerful. Moreover, it was definitely not because of the weapons. It was because he had fused with the word civilization. What kind of joke was this? More than 10 blood shadows of the 8th stage of the sun and moon realm could even kill 9th stage of the sun and moon realm. Who did I provoke? Why would such a change happen to my Tao-achieving weapon? The 10,000 races would not tolerate it. Suyu had some vague guesses in his heart. However, he couldn't lie. Tiangu wanted to issue a kill order, so Suyu couldn't lie. Otherwise, there would definitely be a large number of experts coming to kill him. What was he lying about? The 3 semi-emperors had spoken. Although he didn't know what the old turtle and the god-devouring clan were thinking, Suyu wasn't lying. Suyu cursed and soon, he said coldly, "The immortal clan, right? I'll go and take a look sooner or later. Tiangu, I hope that by then, all the little bastards of your immortal clan will be alive and well. Don T let a large number of them die. I really hope that PLL opened the undead passageway in your immortal realm. I think you'll enjoy it very much. As you wish." Tiangu wasn't angry. His voice completely disappeared. The experts also disappeared one after another. The old turtle looked at Suyu again and suddenly transmitted his voice, "It's best, to crack this book. This book is ominous. Ominous. Another ominous." Suyu smiled. "This is my weapon to achieve Tao. I can feel it. So what if it's ominous? Broken?" Suyu had a feeling that this thing couldn't be broken. If it was broken, he would definitely get into trouble. The consequences would be unimaginable. Perhaps, from now on, he would really be mediocre and useless. This wasn't what he wanted. He didn't want to offend those half-emperors now. There would be no benefits. However, he did not expect that these half-emperors would take the initiative to find fault with him. This was beyond his expectations. However, at this stage, he was not afraid of anything. Suyu grinned. "Everyone, stop looking. I might not be able to pass this stage. If you want to kill me, why don't you all come and help me break this stage?" Around him, the blood shadow aura was getting stronger and stronger. They were already on the verge of killing him. As for Suyu, his aura had also reached a peak. A drop of 8th level sun-moon essence blood entered his stomach, and Suyu's aura instantly became stronger. He had reached 8th level sun-moon. But he was alone. Outside, there were more than 10 shadows. Suyu did not stop. At this moment, his body was trembling. He was about to advance to the final casting. He wanted to see if he could take the opportunity to strengthen himself and strengthen the book. Suyu said loudly, "Lord Xinghong, I don't want outsiders to see anything." Buzz. With a loud sound, the ancient city disappeared. A large number of invincible figures quickly scouted in all directions. At this moment, Suyu did not care so much. He had to solve the problem in front of him. One blood shadow after another quickly charged toward Suyu. It was no longer just a simple fight. These blood shadows actually used weapons. Not only did they use weapons, they also used willpower. Kill! A blood shadow growled in a low voice. Suyu's sea of willpower shook in his mind, creating monstrous waves. Suyu's vision blurred as another blood shadow charged towards him. Its combat strength was extremely powerful. It was only at the 8th stage of the Sun-Moon realm, and Suyu was also at the 8th stage of the Sun-Moon realm. However, he was sent flying by a punch from that blood shadow. Suyu instantly vomited blood. He was secretly shocked. What the hell? Right at this moment, Xing Hong quickly said, quickly finish them off. They are recovering. These are the incarnations of some members of the Parliament of the 10,000 races. Hurry up and kill them. Otherwise, if you continue to recover, you will die. What the hell? The Parliament of the 10,000 races? Suyu did not understand, but he did not need to understand. Kill. Heaven-splitting blade. As the blade slashed out, blade chi filled the sky. In the surrounding 10,000 miles, everyone could see the blade. An ancient city floated in the air and quickly flew away. Only the afterimage of the blade remained. Soon, a large number of experts arrived, and the ancient city had already escaped. Chase. The group of creatures were also extremely surprised. Suyu had only cast a weapon, but he had attracted many half-emperors and even issued a kill order. What was going on? In the headquarters of the Heaven Hunting Pavilion. The Minister of the Sky Division was driving the main hall and also searching. The Minister of the Earth Division asked in surprise, "What's going on?" You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 2436, Chapter 2436, Chapter 526 Failing to cast a weapon. Heavily injured and dying, 3. Chapter 2436, Chapter 526 Failing to cast a weapon. Heavily injured and dying, 3. The Minister of Heaven said indifferently, Suyu touched the ancient rules and attracted the Parliament's blood calamity. This is a sign of unpardonable evil. All races in the heavens must be killed. This is a rumor from the ancient times. Tiangu knows, so he wants to kill Suyu, no matter what. Whether it was the book or Suyu himself, Suyu had to be killed. This was Tiangu's attitude. Suyu might be related to the Time Master. Time Master. The so-called omniscient heaven-hunting pavilion was now invincible, yet they didn't know about this either. The head of the Sky Division said calmly, I only know these 3 words, and PM not too sure about the rest. Perhaps the pavilion master of the East Pavilion knows a little about it, and Tiangu and the others only know a little about it. However, there's a problem with the book that Suyu forged this time. It's a huge problem. Can he survive? I saw that when he left, there were more than 10 blood shadows around him. All of them were at the 8th or 9th level of the Sun-Moon realm. He has luck and great luck, so he might not necessarily die. That's why Tiangu said that if he doesn't die from the tribulation, he must be killed. If he doesn't die from such a tribulation, Suyu will definitely become a great calamity for all the races. The group of people looked at each other for a long time. Someone said faintly, I'm Si's a good TNMG. Suyu can't die. Everyone, don't forget Nat TNE Heaven Hunting Pavilion's mission is. If Suyu dies, then there won't be any fun to watch in the heavens. If he doesn't die, then it's in our interest. You're a human. You, the human. Then why are you helping Suyu? Nonsense, if he doesn't die, isn't it in the Heaven Hunting Pavilion's interest? Furthermore, he's an elder of the heaven hunting pavilion. If I say a few words, then I'm a human. Shut up. The head of the Sky Division coldly shouted, we'll act according to the situation. We'll talk about the rest later, don't quarrel anymore. The group of experts quieted down. At this moment, the experts of the world were discussing. What was wrong now? It was fine for everyone to watch Suyu forge a weapon, but even if he did forge a heavenly weapon, it wouldn't be a big deal, right? The myriad clans didn't lack heavenly weapons. Only after forging a divine weapon would everyone be shocked. But now, he only had an earth weapon, and even the heavenly ancient immortal emperor appeared. East Rift Valley. The great Qin King frowned for a long time. He said in a deep voice, track down the ancient city of Starred City and determine whether Suyu is dead or alive. Also, Great Zhou King, investigate. I want to find out the origins of these 10 or so blood shadows. What kind of ancient rules are these? Also, find out what the use of Suyu's book is, and why it caused a change in the special rules. The great Zhou King's voice rang out, it might be the ancient myriad clan Count CPS blood tribulation. As for Suyu's book, I'll try my best to find out. Council's blood tribulation. The great Qin King muttered, what does it mean? It means that he must be killed. Otherwise, he'll bring disaster to all worlds. What a joke. The great Qin King said coldly, it's all a joke. Don't bother about it. A single person and a book could bring disaster to the world. He did not believe in such things. Ancient things did not mean that they could be trusted. It was just that there were more experts in the ancient times. While all the races were discussing, Suyu kept coughing up blood. Boom! In the sky above the ancient city, Suyu was battling with those blood shadows. However, his speed was not fast enough. Fortunately, these blood shadows had their flaws too. They did not have intelligence. From the start to the end, there were only 2 words, killer, kill. Other than that, there was nothing else. However, their strength was increasing. The power of laws kept surging over and continued to strengthen them. Therefore, it became an extravagant hope to exhaust them to death. Xing Hong said that they would not disappear until they were defeated. Until Suyu was killed, or until the book was destroyed. However, the book. Suyu had paid such a huge price, and it was even related to his path of Tao. How could Suyu give up so easily? The battle continued to erupt. More than 10 phantoms continued to kill Suyu. As for Suyu, his defense was also extremely strong. It was just that his speed was too slow. Swallowing the blood essence could not allow his speed to instantly reach the 8th level of the Sun-Moon realm. He had only reached the explosive power. Fortunately, Suyu had a lot of blood essence. Swallowing some speed-type blood essence also allowed his strength to become stronger and his speed to become faster. Rumble. Afterimages began to battle in the void as Suyu's body began to evolve. The 72 casting was officially completed. At this moment, countless Yuan Qi gathered in the surroundings. Large amounts of Yuan Qi turned into liquid, turning into raindrops that descended towards the ancient city. Suyu's body was shining with golden light. In the void, the sound of ancient music sounded as if it was congratulating him and congratulating him. That day, when Suyu's heavenly cycle acupuncture point had been upgraded, the ancient emperor had given him his blessings. Today, he had completed the 72 casts. At this moment, a strange phenomenon began to appear, covering an area of 50 kilometers. The ancient city was moving, but it was also very large. At this moment, the residents of the ancient city were all watching this shocking scene. The sky was blood red, golden, and white, and it surrounded the entire ancient city. Rules. The blood-colored rules wanted to kill Suyu, but at this moment, a strange phenomenon appeared. Vaguely, there were signs of suppressing the blood-colored. And at this moment, Su Yu's physical body was rapidly strengthening. Powerful. In the sky, clouds floated over. Gradually, a line of ancient words was formed. Rise into the sky, fill the caste, and the human emperor sends his blessings. This was not enough. At this moment, another cloud descended. It was not a word, but an incomparably huge iron-eating beast. Su Yu could see that it was an iron-eating beast. This gigantic iron-eating beast was formed from laws. At that moment, the gigantic eyes looked at Su Yu emotionlessly and said mechanically, "Congratulations." With that said, a large amount of heaven yuan qi and heaven and earth mystic light sprinkled down. The yuan qi that Su Yu had expended earlier was instantly restored. The clouds that human emperor had sent to congratulate him also turned into countless items that had recovered and flew towards Su Yu. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 2437, Chapter 2437, Chapter 526 Failed in Weapon Forging. Heavily Injured and Dying, 4. Chapter 2437, Chapter 526 Failed in Weapon Forging. Heavily Injured and Dying, 4. Su Yu's expression changed slightly as he quickly merged a large number of treasures into the ancient book. At this moment, he didn't have the heavenly cycle technique, so he couldn't advance Ling Yun's level. Using it was actually a waste. It was enough to recover his vitality and willpower. The rest was the integration of divine texts. His divine texts merged into the book, and the book was Su Yu. At this moment, 106 golden patterns instantly appeared on the book. In the blink of an eye, 107 and 108 golden patterns appeared. At this moment, Su Yu let out a low growl and sent a somewhat suppressed blood shadow flying with a punch. The anomalies continued. On one side was the blood shadow, on the other side was the ancient human emperor's big words, and on the other side was the iron-eating beast clan's blessing. Su Yu was a little dumbfounded. What the hell was going on? Moreover, the two anomalies were still melting and colliding with each other. The power of laws continued to emerge. At this moment, Xing Hong's voice rose again. You brat, R2F** King Evil. Quick, take advantage of the clash between the ancient human emperor's laws and their laws to kill them and forge your weapon of Tao. Fuse with the power of laws and forge again. Su Yu was shocked. This was possible. Each one was more daring than the last. At this moment, the blood shadows were suppressed, but their battle prowess was still strong. However, at this moment, those 8 words charged towards the blood shadows. That was not all. The gigantic iron-eating beast phantom suddenly slapped towards the blood shadow. Boom! Without Su Yu making a move, these two ancient rules seemed to be in conflict at this moment. Unexpectedly, the rules collided and melted. As for Su Yu, his eyes flickered, and his qi and blood instantly erupted. He punched out. The punch caused a blood shadow to be slightly damaged. The blood threads that seeped out instantly merged into the book, and the book exploded. Su Yu gritted his teeth, roared, and smashed down with his hammer. At this moment, another illusory golden pattern was born outside of the 108 golden patterns. This was the meaning of the embryonic form of a heavenly weapon. Su Yu took a deep breath. The power of the rule was so fierce. Just a little bit, and it actually created an illusory shadow. Below, Zhao Lp's expression also fluctuated, and he shouted, "What are you waiting for? Quick, while the rule is still there, kill them, merge into the book, and forge the embryonic form of the heavenly weapon." Opportunity. Danger was also an opportunity. Su Yu's luck was frighteningly strong. The weapon forging masters were actually dumbfounded. Su Yu was clearly in grave danger, and they felt as though they were about to die. Suddenly, a phenomenon appeared in his 72-year-old physical body. This was also an ancient rule, and this rule was in conflict with the previous one. One wanted to kill Su Yu, and the other wanted to protect him. The previous rule had more people. The next rule had two. One was a gift from the human emperor, and the other was a giant iron-eating beast. That giant iron-eating beast was also extremely ferocious. Its claws slapped down, and the space around it was shattered. The 8 large words caused the 8 blood shadows to tremble, and they were suppressed. Incomparably powerful. Just the 8 large words might not be able to completely suppress the other party, but there was suddenly another giant iron-eating beast. Under such circumstances, more than 10 blood shadows actually seemed to be unable to defeat the other party. The power of laws continued to pour in. As for Su Yu, his brain was in a mess. He had made the right decision to cast his body at this moment. These two rules were in conflict with each other. Su Yu did not waste any more words and swiftly charged towards the blood shadows. At this moment, Su Yu's physical body was still continuously strengthening and becoming incomparably powerful. 72 casting. At the 36th casting, Su Yu had obtained a special ability. Outside of his physical body, there was an additional layer of defensive chi barrier. It was naturally born, as if it was an innate ability that had always existed. And this time, while Su Yu's physical body was transforming, he also felt something. His bones, flesh, blood, and meridians were all transforming. It was needless to say that he was becoming stronger and stronger. Su Yu seemed to feel that the layer of defensive chi barrier outside of his body was strengthening, continuously strengthening. The 72nd casting seemed to have received another strengthening in terms of defense. Su Yu couldn't care about this anymore. At this moment, the rules of both sides were dissipating. How could he be willing to let them dissipate at this moment? Quickly strengthen my book. Puchi. Su Yu's hand entered his sharp claw and grabbed a piece of blood mist from a blood shadow. He fused it into the book and continued to strike. Another golden shadow appeared. After Su Yu finished forging, he continued to fly towards the blood shadow. Below, Zhao Li suddenly rose into the air and shouted, "Hurry up and grab it. I'll help you maintain the forging." "Thank you, teacher." Zhao Li ignored him. He struck the hammer crazily and began to help Su Yu forge the book. The powerful recoil caused him to continuously cough out blood. Su Yu, on the other hand, swept a glance and gritted his teeth. He was incomparably crazy as he charged toward the blood shadow. Like a mad demon, he punched and kicked. He even bit off the arm of a blood shadow with a crunch. Su Yu instantly threw the arm onto the book. Meanwhile, Zhao Li continued to cough out blood as he continued to help him forge. At this moment, there were more golden patterned shadows. 111 shadows appeared, 112 shadows. Zhao Li couldn't hold on any longer. At this moment, Su Yu suddenly tore a corner of a large character and grabbed it. He threw it to Zhao Li and said, "Teacher, eat it." Zhao Li was stunned. Su Yu shouted, "This is the power of rules as a reward for me. It can be eaten and recovered." "It's true." He thought that Zhao Li didn't believe him. However, Zhao Li scolded, "If you don't want to be a son, you should fight your comrades as well." Su Yu was stunned for a moment and almost cried. "What comrades? This is the rule that rewards me. It belongs to me and is meant for me to eat. What's wrong? It's just that you're helping me defend against the enemy now. Aren't you injured?" Zhao Li cursed and ate the corner in one bite. Suddenly, smoke rose from the top of his head, and his blood boiled. In the next moment, he shouted, "Keep fighting. Tear another piece for me later." You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 2438, Chapter 2438, Chapter 526 Weapon Forging Failed. Heavily Injured and Dying, 5. Chapter 2438, Chapter 526 Weapon Forging Failed. Heavily injured and dying, 5. At this moment, below, Zhao Tianbing and the others were speechless. Shameless. They were also a little envious. The power of rules was too dense. Under normal circumstances, there wouldn't be so much. However, two different powers of rules collided and were constantly replenishing. In this way, Suyu had benefited greatly. This is what great fortune looks like. Zhao Tianbing lamented. His luck was really too prosperous. No wonder even the Emperor of the Celestials felt that Suyu might not necessarily fail and die from the tribulation. If he really felt that way, the other party wouldn't have bothered to say that he wouldn't die from the tribulation and would definitely kill Suyu. Meanwhile, Zhao Li tasted the sweetness and was overjoyed. His injuries were recovering rapidly. What a good thing. While helping Suyu forge weapons, he roared, "Idiot, fight on both sides. Maintain the balance and don't let either side suppress the other. Otherwise, the rules will dissipate." The two of them began to plot to pull the wool from the sheep. Pull the wool from the rules. They were all smart people and quickly discovered something. As one side was weakened, the power of the rules actually stopped replenishing. However, as the two sides balanced, the power of the rules would replenish both sides. This was a good opportunity to pull wool. The blood shadow could be used to forge weapons, and the words could be used to heal injuries and strengthen the body. Such an opportunity was too rare. Or, it could be said that it was rarely seen. There were two types of laws appearing on a person's body at the same time. One was a blessing, and the other was a calamity. These were almost non-existent. But now, they had appeared. In the ancient times, the powerhouses who made the rules probably did not expect that there would be such a day where they would be robbed of their fleece. At this moment, Suyu was stuck at this checkpoint. Of course, in countless years, he was the first one to be stuck like this. No one could replicate it. This was not a matter of forging divine weapons. Divine weapons would not cause such a punishment, and neither would vicious weapons. Suyu had drawn out these powerful blood shadows because his civilization had been integrated into the Atlas. This was also his only chance. Unless, another freak like Suyu appeared. Such a coincidence, he would complete the casting on the same day. Even Suyu would not be able to do it again. Because, he only had one word, civilization. Suyu quickly joined the battle, constantly tearing both sides apart. The blood shadow took out the weapon, and the word fragments were used to restore himself, strengthen his physical body, and strengthen his sea of consciousness. In the sea of consciousness, the little fur ball that had swallowed a blood shadow earlier had also gone crazy. It did not care that it was going to explode, and it fought with Suyu for the words. It roared anxiously, "Fragrant, I want it too, I want it. Give me some. Fragrant, it's too fragrant. If it died, so be it." These words were really fragrant. It was not just the words. Suyu even tore off the big ears of the Iron Eater beast. It was delicious. It was too damn delicious. It restored his body and strengthened his chi and blood. The 144 acupuncture points that Suyu had previously transformed into were currently absorbing energy. The remaining acupuncture points were actually absorbing the power of law as well. Vaguely, it seemed like they were going to help Suyu complete Ling Yun's first transformation. One by one, the acupuncture points were ignited. Meanwhile, the aura of death in Suyu's body began to spread out as it was destroyed and corroded by the power of law. Meanwhile, Xingyu, who was transmitting the aura of death, could not help but curse angrily, "I quit. Go to hell. Go to hell. When I transmitted the aura of death, this bastard actually used the power of law to melt it, causing the aura of death that she transmitted to be wasted. Bastard. And at this moment, how could Suyu still care about him? He was going crazy. The blood shadow and the words were dissipating. He was going crazy. Suyu shouted, don't go at all. It was my opportunity. The blood shadow cast a weapon and the words replenished the nutrients. He was still in the process of awakening. Awakening the divine aperture. This power of laws could be replenished by yuan qi and willpower. It was simply a supreme treasure. Don't go, don't dissipate. One by one, the divine apertures were rapidly opened by Suyu. And in his sea of will, divine runes were vibrating. After absorbing this power of laws, the divine runes began to glow. His willpower soared, but he didn't close his aperture, causing Suyu to be unable to advance. Under such circumstances, his divine apertures were expanding one by one, and his sea of consciousness was also expanding. Suyu gave himself a few more hammers to compress his willpower. On the other side, Zhaoli was also madly eating and smashing. He roared, trash, snatch. Hurry up, or else it will dissipate and become weaker and weaker. He was also eating and smashing. One after another, golden patterns appeared. 125,126. His willpower was also rapidly growing stronger, and his cultivation base had broken through. He was also rapidly suppressing those at the 5th and 6th levels of the mountain and sea realm. His willpower was increasing too quickly. Of the two of them, one was forging weapons, and the other was plucking sheep's hair. The blood shadow was getting smaller and smaller. The words were getting smaller and smaller. The iron-eating beasts were getting smaller and smaller. Gradually, they seemed to have lost all their energy and became smaller and smaller. Suyu threw his head back and roared. No! Don't disappear. A shrill roar resounded throughout the world. At this moment, some of the tracking experts were shocked. Dead? Suyu is dead. This cry was too shrill. It was sincere. The kind that couldn't even be disguised. Was he dead or heavily injured? In the distance, on the ancient city, those abnormal signs began to dissipate. Suyu was heartbroken. No, don't. The divine weapon embryo hasn't succeeded, my 290 divine apertures haven't been fully opened, my divine text hasn't advanced to sun and moon, I don't want it, my 360 yuan apertures haven't completely transformed, I haven't entered the first transformation completion stage yet. Do not.